Y'all can give your opening.
Yeah.
I got.
Yeah, Sint, are we gonna use like the zombie arguments or like something
Probably.
like that?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
All right,
Got.
tell us when we're ready.
Yeah, got.
All right. Look, so there's a couple of major arguments against the view that the mind is material. If you're saying that the mind is material in the sense that the mind is made of matter, and the mind's not a process of the matter, then there's already an issue in your view, which is the mind it would have to be a process of matter in order for you to get things like emergence out of that. But the P-zombie argument is relatively simple. It comes from Chalmers, which is just that if physicalism, in regards to the mind obviously, is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. Not physically or metaphysically impossible, logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. It is logically possible for P-zombies to exist, therefore physicalism is false. All a P-zombie is just the idea, like just envision in your mind. Imagine a person who, for all the physical facts about some person are the same, and yet they have no mind, right? They're a P-zombie. It's the case they have no qualia. If that's possible, if it's the case somebody can be like that, then it's the case that, or for example, if it was the case that some kind of eliminativism, right, could be true, then obviously it's logically possible for P-zombies to exist, which therefore physicalism is false.
Would you like to respond to that? No?
Apollo, if you wanna jump in and add like more to the opening, feel free.
No, you can respond first.
You guys can respond. It's fine.
Are you not adding anything?
No, I don't need to.
So just to be clear here, what is the definition of mind?
Yeah, the definition of mind is just going to be mental stuff. So if you want some like deeper account of what
like
the mind is, I'd give you an extensive definition. So the extensive I don't my those two I don't know how this. Oh, we did the tag thing or whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like the mind, like if you want like an extensive definition of what the mind is, right? I would just like tell you like to any of the experiences you have are inside the mind, any of the beliefs you have are inside the mind, right? The mind is a container for the beliefs and experiences and so on.
Okay. And then the argument is that since P-zombies are logically possible, that entails that physicalism is true, right?
Given that, yeah, there's like the premise one is if physicalism is true, then it's logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. You rejecting P1?
Yeah, do you have the argument typed out?
But yeah, I can just paste it if you want.
Yes, and
Sure. But are you rejecting P1 to be clear?
I'm going to see once I read the laid out version. Just send in scans.
I posted in the pop-out chat. Can you see it there?
The what chat?
The pop-out chat. This is like the one for the stage. It says, if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist.
Yeah,
it is logically possible for P-zombies to exist. Therefore, physicalism is false.
Okay, let me see. Wait, do you think truth within reality entails necessity?
That wouldn't be relevant to my argument.
Well, yes, it would, because if you're saying that it's logically impossible, that means there cannot be a possible world where this is the case. However, if you say that it's true, then you could just say it's true within this reality. However, there can be a possible, or there can be a necessity, or there can be possibles within another possible world, basically.
That doesn't have any relation to the argument, but I'll explain why. Right? So, look, I don't think it's the case that something has to correspond to reality in order to be true. So, talk about possibility and like talk about counterfactuals. Those obviously don't pertain to reality. Talk about like does a unicorn have one horn? Doesn't pertain to reality. But all the argument forwards is just that if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. And the argument in favor of P1, right? If that's the one you want to reject, is just that it's analytic, right? So if it's the case that a thing can be identical physically and be non-identical mentally, that would just mean it's the case that the physical and the mental are not identical. So that's the argument for P1. Is that the one you deny?
So obviously, if it follows that something is identical physically, however, it's non-identical mentally, meaning that the mental state isn't physical, then it would follow that physicalism isn't true because it wouldn't be a physical fact. However, you said that truth doesn't have to be corresponding with reality. What was the analogy that you have?
Look,
repeat
that. The question. I want
Wait, that's fine. I'll answer the question after. But what was the analogy?
No, I'm not going to ask the question again, right?
Wait, so I just can dismiss the analogy then. Yeah. So with the analogy thing, if the analogy is what I deem it to be or what I think it was, then I'm just going to say that would have corresponded with reality. The fact that unicorns don't exist is corresponding to reality because you cannot, within reality, verify that the unicorn exists. So the verification, due to the lack of verification, you can make the claim or assessment that is false.
All I said about unicorns is that things don't have to correspond to reality to be true because unicorns have one horn. You didn't track what I said, right? But just do you deny P1, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm asking how is that debunked to the correspondence theory?
Sorry, was that yes, you do?
Wait, that's fine, but how is that a debunk to the correspondence theory?
Because things don't have to correspond with reality in order to be true, which means
that's just a claim. I'm asking what's the argument?
The argument is that I have an example of it. I don't know how
you're what's the example?
Can you please just tell me yes or no? Do you deny
Wait, that's fine. You can say I'm not tracking, but I'm asking how does the example correlate to the premise or the conclusion?
Look, I'll explain it again, right? So the example
you didn't explain it the first time,
which does not exist in reality, right? Here's a thing that's true about it The thing in question is unicorns. There's no correspondence to reality relation for fictional things. If I say it's true that Santa Claus lives in the North Pole, even though Santa Claus does not exist, that would obviously mean that things can be true independent of correspondence with reality, because there's an example of a thing which is true with no correspondence to reality. If there's an example of a thing with no correspondence to reality, which is true, then it's the case that something does not need to be true in order to correspond to reality. But I am going to ask you again, and hopefully this time you won't dodge like a bitch. P1, do you disagree with it? Yes or no?
My nigga, that shit did not hit. I don't even know why you added that. But anyways, in response to the shitty ass argument you just gave, or example at least, that wouldn't be the case at all. It would just be a relativistic truth, which also has correspondence to reality. So when you're talking about unicorns, that is a vague term or a vague reference. So for example, within one fictional setting, a unicorn can be some type of object with two horns. However, in another fictional setting, that unicorn can have one horn. That's just a relativistic truth. It's true within, please, maybe you should mute him. Yeah, he can't take turns because he's a little bitch and he's a fucking kid. Anyways, so within one set of fictions, you have proposition P, which is that the unicorn has two horns. Relatively, you have another piece of fiction where the unicorn has one horn. It is true within that piece of fiction, therefore has correspondence with reality within that piece of fiction, that the unicorn has two horns. However, relatively, within another fictional setting, that unicorn only has one horn. So it would be relativistically true and it would still correspond with reality. Your analogical argument doesn't follow.
Is the argument non-following because it's invalid, or do you think the argument doesn't follow because you reject a premise?
I think the argument doesn't follow because it's invalid.
Okay, the argument's modus ponens. Do you think modus ponens is invalid?
The inference rule doesn't have to be invalid for the set of premises to not infer the conclusion.
Yes, it does.
We'll start
of course
that.
It does.
What the fuck? Yeah, so let me respond to this. Yeah, so if you have if P then Q, even though the inference rule is there, if P then Q, the P does not have to infer Q. Therefore, it can be, yeah, please stop cutting me off. Yeah, anyways. So if you have the inference step, I never said inference rule. You said inference rule. But if you have the inference rule, quote unquote, if P then Q, and then you deny that P actually entails Q, you can say that that does not logically follow, but the inference rule or the system itself can still be used to codify that P entails Q.
I don't know why the sync with me guy keeps meeting me. Look, sync with me. If you're gonna moderate this, I want to make sure that you're pressing.
Yeah, stop making side
so I'm
quotes.
asking you.
You keep making side quotes.
Jesus Christ, the moderator's interrupting me too. So look, I just want to make sure, right? I asked Infinity direct question. Infinity, also, I want to like point out you did just say inference rule, and you lied about saying inference rule.
Yeah, I was representing what you said, retard.
But also, shut the fuck up, retard. It's the middle of my sentence.
I was representing
what
you said.
Not your turn to speak right now. Mute him. What are you doing, lazy piece of shit? So look, I have a question for Infinity, right? The question is a very direct yes or no question, which is just, do you reject a premise? Obviously, if the inference rule is valid, then the argument would be valid. You can reject the soundness of the argument by rejecting one of the premises, but the argument is very clearly valid, which is that it's just modus ponens. P implies Q is not an example of an inference rule or an inference step. It's an example of a proposition. You don't know what those are because you're retarded. So to be really clear, all the inference rules is modus ponens, which is P implies Q and P, therefore Q. That's the argument, right? So that argument was very simply modus ponens, because if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist, right? Physicalism not being true, physicalism being true, therefore it's impossible for P-zombies to exist, would follow from your view. That is a valid argument. My argument earlier, right, comes in the form of modus tollens, right? The argument there came in the form of modus ponens, but the initial one is modus tollens, which is just, if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. It's not the case it's logically impossible for P-zombies to exist, therefore it's not the case physicalism is true. It's obviously a valid argument. Now, premise 1 or premise 2, which do you deny? You can pick both if you want.
Obviously, I want to answer the question after I consider the current topic of conversation, retard. Maybe there's a lack of tracking from my opponent, so I'm going to speak to the audience. Everybody, he just said modus ponens wasn't a rule of inference, even though it is.
No,
I'm saying that if he didn't, yeah, please mute him. Yeah, this is why you get muted, retard, because you're a fucking child. You can't take turns. So if modus ponens is the inference rule, which you just granted right there by saying that you didn't deny it was, that means that you can have an inference rule. However, the inference rule can be if P then Q. You can say and argue that P does not actually entail Q logically, but it still be if P then Q. So it's if P then Q. However, within this analogy, Q just doesn't get implied from P. I'm not saying that the current argument you have is modus ponens. I'm saying that the inference rule within that analogy I just gave, it can still be an inference rule, which is valid. That's not the same thing as the inference rule. What the inference rule is codifying, that's not the same thing as the inference rule's codification being valid. So when you say something along the lines of, you have a relativistic truth, therefore it does not correspond with reality, that's fucking retarded. That's some low tier D1 shit, my nigga, because you can have a relativistic truth. For example, unicorns have two horns. That would be the case within one piece of fiction. However, in Sync's piece of fiction, he can ascribe unicorns 3 horns, which would relatively be true within that piece of fiction. Both of these have correspondence to reality. Within one piece of fictional setting, it has correspondence to reality that this unicorn has 2 horns. In another, it has correspondence to reality that this unicorn has 1 horn. So we can stay on this.
Since Infinity didn't ever want to respond to that question, right? He's very
I
clearly
just said
dodging.
I'll answer the
go ahead
question.
and give an explanation. I'll just shut up, bitch. I'll just go ahead and give an explanation for why P implies Q is not what modus ponens is. Like P implies Q isn't a rule of inference, right? All that is an implication, right? Modus ponens is when you have P implies Q and you also have P. So, for example, the difference between modus ponens and modus tollens, that in the case of modus ponens, you have P implies Q and also P, therefore Q. In the case of modus tollens, you have P implies Q, not Q, therefore not P. Right? So having P implies Q is in the same as modus ponens. That's a proposition, not a rule of inference, you fucking idiot. Now, the question I asked you, which you're going to dodge again, and it's going to look just as bad, is just premise 1 or premise 2. Which one do you deny, or both?
Yeah, this dude's fucking retarded. He keeps on saying I'm dodging questions, which isn't correlative to the current topic of conversation. So I'll say this once again. I never said that a conditional statement is something that is an inference rule. I said that modus ponens is an inference rule. I just didn't lay out the entire modus ponens. I said if P and Q. I never said that was modus ponens. I was just summarizing modus ponens because I literally labeled it prior that it was modus ponens. Stop cutting me off. Please mute him. Yeah, thank you. This retard. Anyways, I never said it was modus ponens, that being if P and Q. I just said modus ponens is a rule of inference, and I said if P and Q to represent modus ponens in sum. In sum. Hear that? In sum. I want to highlight that because you're clearly not tracking, retard. So when we're talking about conditional statements and modus ponens, I agree they're distinct. They're distinct. One is a statement, one is a rule of inference. I'm saying you can have the rule of inference if P and Q, P there for Q. I agree that that can be an inference rule. However, what is codifying doesn't have to be valid. So you can have if P and Q, P infers Q. Hypothetically, however, within actuality, Q does not follow from that specific P. So any proposition P that does not entail Q, that's completely fine to say. Now we can get on to your argument. I'm saying if you don't believe that truth, which is going to be corresponding to reality, does not entail necessity, then you can say physicalism is true within reality. However, it is not necessarily true because modal realism is supposed to be an extension of classical logic, which is referential to everything. Retard.
I have no idea why you invoke modal realism there. Neither of us are modal realists, I hope to God. Also, modal realism entails like a contradiction, so that would be a silly view to hold up if you did hold to it. I asked you just which of the premises was false. The argument comes in the form of modus tollens. Every single argument in the form of modus tollens will always be valid with no exceptions. There's not a single exception of it because it's a valid inference rule. You can say you think, this argument's invalid because I reject P1, but that wouldn't be an issue with the validity of the argument. That's you rejecting the soundness. You're retarded. Somebody should give this guy like an intro to logic class, and hopefully we can do a little bit of that here. So if somebody says, if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. Premise 2, it is logically possible for P-zombies to exist, which just means not Q, right? Therefore, physicalism is false. That's the same as to say not P. So all that means, right, is you can say something like, I don't think that if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. I gave you the argument for that. You can try to refute that argument, but you haven't. It's just lying on the table there, right, with no kind of counter-argument against it. But the argument's very simple. The argument's very simple and valid. The argument's very obviously valid. If you have an issue with the validity of the argument, then you're in a bad fucking spot because it's very clearly valid. I'm asking you again, is there a single premise in that argument which you think is not true?
Yes, I'm going to answer the question once again right after. I'm just questioning whether or not the first primacy entails a belief, which you have yet to answer. You keep on dodging the question. I said, do you believe that truth, which you directly answered, which is not distinct from my actual question, or it is distinct from my actual question? I said, do you believe truth within reality entails necessity? You said that is irrelevant here. You didn't answer the question at all. And you said that truth doesn't have to be correspondence with reality, which I'm asking for the argument for that. You brought up this shitty ass and illogical point, which I literally already defeated. Everybody in China, I can vouch for that. And then secondly, I didn't mean to say modal realism. I meant to say modal logic. That's an extension of classical logic. So when we're talking about propositions being truth and reality, I'm asking you, do you hold the belief that a truth, which is going to be correspondence to reality, would entail necessity? Please answer the question. You're talking about me dodging questions. However, that's kind of ironic, I think. So yes, I agree that I am rejecting. Shut up. Under the pretense, I am rejecting premise 1. However, that's only if you believe truth entail, or that is only if you don't believe that truth entails necessity. And then for the other thing, I'm saying I agree it's a rule of inference. However, obviously a rejection of a primacy is going to entail unsoundness prospectively. However, I'm saying that if P then Q, P there for Q, I'm not saying that's modus ponens, by the way, I'm saying that's modus ponens. If P then Q, P there for Q, if you explain why Q does not logically follow from P, it will be invalid. However, it would still be a rule of inference that you're using. The propositions that are codified from the inference rule itself is something that's invalid.
Thank God. Okay, look, what you just said is that you'd reject P1, right? You just don't understand how validity works. So it doesn't show the argument's invalid. It would show that you think it's unsound, right? That's what you're trying to say. You're saying that P1, which is P implies Q, is what's false, right? That would mean you're rejecting P1. If you reject the premise, that's an issue with soundness, not validity, you fucking retard. But the argument comes in the form of modus tollens, right? And obviously it's the case that modus tollens is always valid. Saying something like, I don't think Q is entailed by P, that just means you're rejecting P1. That's not, and also, yeah, like the answer to your question, by the way, because you like jibber-jabbered a bunch afterwards, I answered it earlier, was no. The answer to your question is no. I also explained why it's irrelevant, so it was a stupid question to ask. I'm going to ask my question again, and you're not going to answer it again. You're going to say, here's the thing he's going to say. He's going to say, I'm going to explain first, then I'm going to answer it. And then he'll never answer it, and for some reason, like he thinks it's going to work. The question is just, is any premise of my argument untrue?
Yeah, so I never, oh my God, you retarded. I said I'm going to reject it under the pretense that you're going under a condition that I think you are going under. I also said it would not follow if Sinthe, listen, if you believe that something being correspondent with reality does not entail necessity, because I said something impossible cannot be the case in any possible world. Therefore, it's necessarily incorrect. It is necessarily something that cannot be true. So if that follows, that means you saying physicalism being true when it's held the impossibility or complement of it, that would mean that it's necessarily false. It cannot follow. I'm asking you, do you believe that physicalism being true from reality, for example, would necessarily entail that P zombies cannot exist? That is the relevance with the question. You saying you gave some type of explanation as to why it isn't relevant. Your explanation was fucking retarded. I agree. You attempted to give something. However, it did not go through at all with that shitty ass response. So you saying I'm schizo-babbling or whatever you just said, that doesn't actually uphold your position or anything like that. And once again, listen, I'm both rejecting it under a condition and I'm saying it does not follow if you have a certain belief, which I asked you that question correlative to it. So you're making a claim that if it doesn't follow, it isn't an inference rule. I'm asking for the argument for that. I don't care if you keep on dodging the argument because you have no defense, but we can just move on.
Thank God, Jesus. Okay, look, I don't know how long we're allowed to go while the other person's server muted or something. That was like a million years to not answer my question. The question is just which of the premises is not true, right? And you also you brought up a new question as though it was the last one, right? The question you asked was different. The answer I'd answer to your question is yes. Obviously, it's the case that if it's logically impossible for P zombies to exist, that would entail physicalism, and if it's logically possible for P zombies to exist, that entails the negation of physicalism, right? I gave you the argument for why P1 is true, and you haven't responded to it at all. But I also asked you over and over again, right? Obviously, the argument's valid, right? The idea the argument's invalid is retarded. It's just fucking modus tollens. I'm asking you over and over again, which of the premises is untrue? You can say both. Just tell me which of the premises is untrue. I don't think you're ever going to answer that question. There's no chance you'll answer that question because you understand that obviously the premises are fucking true. Obviously, the argument's valid, and you don't have a good response to the argument in favor of P1. The argument in favor of P1, just to remind the audience for why it's the case that if physicalism is true, that entails the logical impossibility of P zombies existing, is because if it's the case that P zombies can't exist, that would mean that it's not identical, right? It's mean that the physical things, the mental things are non-identical. They would have to be identical for physicalism to be true. If they're non-identical, then it's the case that they're not the same thing, and you're embracing some form of dualism. So I'm asking you again, is there a premise which in my argument you think is he left? Oh my God, you just leave this fucking. Did you bring it back up or something?
What happened?
Back in there?
Oh, hold on.
I don't know, he's disconnected or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'll fucking. With the other people constantly on server mute, like neither of us are ever gonna want to tag the other person in because it kind of looks weak, right? Is there do you want to just open it up for the open discussion?
Okay, so the whole point of a tag in is that if you cannot contend or if you don't want to continue any longer, you just say, okay, Apollo, I'll tag you in, and then that's how it works.
Oh, I mean, that seems kind of annoying because I don't think I'm never gonna feel like I'm not able to continue with any of Infinity's shitty arguments.
No, it's not the fact that you feel stupid. Yeah, it's not the fact that you feel stupid. It's just the fact that you just don't feel like debating right now. That's simple. Right?
No, I'm never gonna not feel like debating right now.
Oh shit.
But yeah, I'll ask the question again, and then after I've asked the question, right, just for the sake of Apollo being able to get some fucking airtime, so it's not just me and Infinity talking the entire time. The question is just it's very simple, right? Do you think P1 is wrong, P2 is wrong, or both are wrong? Now Apollo can hop in too.
You re-asking the question isn't going to mean that I'm going to answer a retard. I just told you, and the question that you asked prior to this point was, are you going to keep on dodging the question? The answer is, I'm going to answer the question, which is the last time I'm repeating this, by the way. I'm going to answer the question when I deem it to be relevant towards my current point. My current point is questioning whether or not you have a certain belief, so I can go under that belief and then continue premises accordingly. So the question, which I'm going to ask, and I want Apollo to answer this since he's your little stepdad, the question is, do you believe a truth within reality entails necessity? Answer that question. If it follows that you do believe that a truth entails necessity, then then your primacy would be something that logically entails your conclusion. However, if you don't believe truth entails necessity, then it can be true that physicalism is something that is the case, while necessarily, or in another possible world, it doesn't have to be the case or it can be the case that peace zombies exist.
Go ahead, Apollo. Apollo. Yeah, we can hear you. All right.
It's just pointing out the idea, the possibility of the mind being non-physical or there being peace zombies. And I assume you don't know what peace zombies. I'm gonna like.
Trish, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm gonna have to just unmute Sinthe for now. Hold on.
All right. Yeah, so look, the question is relevant because obviously if the argument's valid and all the premises are true, then the argument's sound and the conclusion is true. So that's why the question is very obviously relevant. The
Wait,
argument's
why is
very simple.
infinity still? Oh, my bad.
What?
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, okay, look. So
Wait,
the
I'm
argument's...
confused. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm confused. Wait, why did they get unmuted? Who's going? Like, who's
I don't
debating?
know.
I mean,
Could
I'm
you
going, I guess.
unmute?
Apollo's... Look,
you
Apollo is...
unmute
I'm not the one
Infinity?
who unmuted. Yeah, I'm not the one who
No,
unmuted
could
her.
you
I'm
unmute Infinity for the
Yeah, I
time
got you.
being?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look, I don't... Look, so yeah, just for the record, like obviously the arguments,
Wait,
the
wait,
question's
wait. Apollo
relevant
made a
because
point.
the
Just to be
argument
clear,
soundness is...
wait, Apollo made a
Oh
point.
God,
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ!
yeah.
Apollo's
You can
point's
mute
not
Sinthe. You can
finished.
mute
Why are you
Sinthe.
spazzing, you
No, that's
fucking
fine.
No,
I'm
retard?
only
Infinity.
responding
Wait,
to the
hold on,
person.
wait.
Jesus Christ!
Wait, real quick,
Infinity.
wait, Synth,
Let me
real
talk.
quickly,
Let me
real
talk.
quick to Synth. Hold on there a second, guys. Just let me finish, please.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Go, nigga.
It's just like I'm trying like he's bugging or something. The reality, but he gave two examples of reality, whereas you have a unicorn with one horn and a unicorn with two horns, and he verbatim said in those specific examples that there's some truths within this fiction, right? So he agrees that you can have truth within fiction, and we have this on record, by the way, and that would obviously entail correspondence theory being false, and also to even respond to this even further, or to respond to the other point he made, he said modal logic is an extension of class logic. Like someone can employ modal logic in conversations without being like someone who's like believes in classical logic system, that they can believe in like some non-classical logic system, while believing in like some different form of collegiate modal logic, which does not entail like classical logic principles. So like that's just not even sure, but there you go.
Wait, okay, just to be clear, I don't know why Sinthe brought in Timu version of himself to give that shitty ass response. But anyways, in response to that shitty ass low tier argument, yeah, one, I want you to justify that you can use modal logic without it being an extension of classical logic. And the secondly, maybe you weren't listening, so I'll bash it in your head for the fucking second time. I literally said in response to those relativistic truths that since there's no set criteria for descriptive unicorns, you can just use a fictitious version, which would be relative to the person's mind. For example, Sync's bitch ass can say a unicorn holds the properties or the predicates of two horns, while someone like Akeno or someone good like Infinity, the greatest debater, can say that a unicorn holds the predicates of one horn. So relatively, it would be true within perspective of that fiction. Therefore, would have correspondence that this fictional unicorn has one horn. However, relatively in another piece of fiction, which I've already said this 3 fucking times, retard, it could just be true that that unicorn has 3 or 2 horns, etc. The predicates can keep on climbing and climbing as long as there is an idea of a unicorn that can be instantiated with properties. And that's the last time I'm repeating that. We can move on, retard. What the fuck? You Walmart version of fucking Sinthe? You fucking suck. Like, this is basic shit. What?
Paulo, you're not muted. You muted yourself, by the way. Okay, we just gonna make Cynthia, you could just take over for Apollo because Apollo shit is tweaking.
Yeah. Look, Apollo's microphone is fucked up or something. Yeah, no, look, the point is just that if you think that something being in correspondence with a fiction can make it true, then obviously you think that things can be true independent of correspondence with reality because fiction's on reality. So like that was the argument was very simple there. I feel like that was easy to track. But the reason why the question is relevant about which of the what is just because like the conclusion just follows that you're like if the conclusion follows then your argument's just false or your position is just wrong. So obviously asking you is the argument valid and which of the premises is not true are both going to be relevant. Now, obviously every argument that comes in the form of modus tollens will always be valid. Universally, that's what it means to be valid. It's just that the conclusion does follow if the premises are true. Now, obviously, if all the premises are true, then it wouldn't tell that it's the case that the conclusion is true. Now, I'll read the argument out again, and hopefully, for fuck's sakes, they will at some point we'll get a response here on which of those premises is false. Right? The argument is just P1. If physicalism is true, then it's the case that it's impossible to have P zombies. Right? Anybody who doesn't remember what a P zombie is just like imagine a thing which is physically identical to you, but not mentally. It doesn't have any mental content, right? It's just like nothing behind the eyes. It acts like you do, but it doesn't think like you do or have experiences like you do. That would be a P zombie, right? I think that acts identical to a human, but and looks identical to a human. Like you can investigate it with all the physical means to be identical to a human, and yet it has no experiences. Obviously, if that's logically possible, that means it's not the case that the physical stuff and the mental stuff are identical, right? All the mental stuff is not just some kind of physical stuff. It's not true to say the mental stuff would be a type of physical stuff. So that's the argument for P1. Obviously, P1's true, right? P2 is just that it is the case that it's logically possible for you to have P zombies, right? Doesn't have to be the case they exist in reality. Just it's logically possible. You can envision them, right? That would just mean that it's the case, right? The conclusion is true, which is that physicalism is false. So if P, then Q, not Q, therefore P. That's always valid. It's not always sound, but it's always valid. The thing that would make it not sound is one of the premises was false. Now, I'm asking you over and over again, is there a false premise in the fucking argument? Is P1 false? I give you the argument for why it's true, right? You're not even rejecting it. I'm giving you the argument for why it's true. Or is P2 false, right? If you want to say that it's logically impossible, right, to have P zombies, I'll just ask you for what the contradiction is. And then you're not going to be able to forward one. So obviously P2 is going to be true, which means the conclusion's true. So, once again, because he's not going to answer this, and it's really funny every time he dodges it, which makes him look terrible. Which one of the premises is false, Infinity? And also, I'm going to appeal to a moderator. Can you, if you're moderating, can you, force this motherfucker to answer the question instead of letting him dodge? You should
Yeah, so retard, yeah, please mute him, Sync. Yeah, so retard, maybe I didn't make myself clear, but I'll repeat this for you. I said I was going to repeat it one more time for Apollo, since obviously he has a tracking issue, but it's fine. He continuously gets beat up by Archie, so that makes sense. So the argument that you just responded to, I'm going to say this. Statement 1, the unicorn within Jujutsu Kaisen has one horn. That being true has correspondence to reality because it is the case within that fictional setting that unicorn has 2 horns. Therefore, the statement that within Jujutsu Kaisen, the unicorn has 2 horns, that statement would follow within reality because that piece of fiction exists within reality, idiots. Now, when you're talking about the inference rule being valid in every scenario, that's not true at all. The inference rule is valid in every scenario. However, what we use the inference rule to do, which is codify the statements don't have to be logically valid in every scenario. You're trying to give these one-on-one logic lessons, which aren't needed at all because nobody here is uneducated other than maybe you and Apollo, dumbass. You need to educate yourself on how to fucking track arguments. So you have statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, statement 4. Those are the statements. Now, what codifies these statements are the system itself. The system in every single scenario is valid. However, the statements itself don't have to be valid in every scenario. So if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P, is always valid. That is the inference rule itself. However, the statements within the inference rule might not be logically connected. Therefore, it follows that they are not logically valid within that scenario. I'm asking you, why do you believe that they are logically connected? That being the statement, not the codification of the statements. Those are analytically distinct. And then for a response to what Apollo said when he tried to sneak it in due to his fucking shitty ass Jamaican Wi-Fi, no, I don't need to justify that the correspondence theory is true. I believe it's just consistent. You are actually the one who gave the objection towards the correspondence theory by giving some shitty ass illogical argument that even D1 would think of a better argument at for. But anyways, you can go ahead and respond. We'll move on to your point or your argument after this.
So once again, there's a very obvious question dodge. This is really pathetic and sad and a huge waste of my time. But I'll go ahead and explain to Infinity why he's deathly confused about what validity means because he's a little retarded. Let me sit up for a second, though. Hold on. So Infinity, look, buddy. Look, validity is not a property of propositions. It's only a property of arguments, you fucking idiot, right? So the things what validity means is just that if all the premises of some particular argument are true, then it's logically necessary the conclusion is true. That's what validity means. Validity is not a property of propositions. Them being true or false is a property of them. Validity is not a property of them. If somebody says P implies Q and you say, no, P doesn't imply Q because P doesn't logically entail Q. That's irrelevant to whether or not P implies Q. But in this case, P does logically entail Q, right? It's one of the few examples where it does, and I've given you the argument for why it does. Like here's an example of why P implies Q doesn't have to be a logical entailment. So if I say, if I go to the store, then I will get wet. That's the same as to say, going to the store implies I will get wet. That means the same thing, right? Now, obviously, it doesn't have to be the case that it logically entails it. Like, maybe I could bring an umbrella or something, right? But if I say something like, if I go to the store, then I will get wet, right? And then I also get premise 2, which is just that I do go to the store, and the conclusion is I do get wet, right? Obviously, much like your mother, I'd be very wet there. And in the case of the argument, there's obviously logically valid. The argument is very clearly logically valid because it's just modus ponens, you fucking idiot. So the argument's very simple. I'll give it out again, and hopefully this time Infinity will respond to it. But the funny thing is I could just keep repeating the argument over and over again and have an easy fucking clap on this retard because he's never going to respond to it, and he's going to continue to dodge because he's a bitch, because he's scared. The argument's very simple. If physicalism is true, then it is not logically possible to have a P-zombie. It is logically possible to have a P-zombie. Conclusion, physicalism is not true. So that's modus tollens. If P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. This is very fucking simple. You are very, very bad at this. I'm going to over and over and over again ask you the same fucking question. You're going to keep fucking dodging, and you're going to keep looking like fucking trash. I understand that your friends will tell you you do well after this, but you know in your mind you're doing fucking shit. So I'll tell you the argument one more time, right? What's the fucking premise you disagree with, you fucking retard? Right? And I'm going to once again appeal to the lazy-ass moderator to press him on answering the fucking question instead of just being a shield for him to run away from it.
Stop letting him repeat the argument, Singh. That's retarded, but mute him real quick. Yeah, I don't know why I have to calculate. Like, I have to keep on holding this nigga hand like it's daycare because he can't simply track what I'm talking about. So I'll say this, and then we can maybe move on. The logical inference rule itself is something that is always valid, quote unquote. We use if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. Those are the symbols that represent the propositions we're talking about. How do we determine something not being logically valid? We determine it off of the logical connection between the propositions, retard. It is not about the rule of inference itself. It's off of the logical connection that the propositions hold. So premise 1, Goku has a big ass, hairy ass black dick. Premise 2, Sinthe is a bitch ass tranny. Conclusion, therefore God exists. We determine that being logically valid off of the logical connection between all three propositions, not off of the rule of inference itself. The rule of inference is always valid. However, the propositions which I just gave or uttered are something that are logically not connected. Therefore, by virtue of that, we use the determinator to say that they're not logically valid, retard. So yes, there is propositional connection that we use that, or there is propositional connection that we go off to determine whether or not something is valid. So would you like to move on?
Wait, quick question, Sinthe, real quick before you answer that. What do you mean? What question is he supposed to answer?
Yeah, the question is just which premise is false. But I want to respond to Infinity's garbage argument there. Look, Infinity, the thing that you just gave doesn't come with a rule of inference, right? I'm telling you this argument has that rule of inference. If you're rejecting the argument has that rule of inference, that would be something that you should bring the fuck up because then it would show invalidity in the argument. Now, what you just gave is an invalid argument because it's not the case that if all the premises are true, then the conclusion is necessarily true. And the reason for that is because your argument doesn't have a fucking inference rule. I'm going to ask you this directly, and you're going to dodge this question too because you're a little bitch. That argument you gave about Goku's big hairy dick, what inference rule did it use, Infinity? Unmute him real quick so he can say that.
I'll answer the question during my speaking time. Are you done? Yeah, thank you. So one, you're a little bitch. You're a little bitch. That shit did not hit, my nigga. That shit is corny as fuck. You're 32 fucking debating on Discord. You're broke as fuck, nigga. Show some money, nigga. Show some hoes. Anyways, now I never said to have an inference rule. And then secondly, I'm saying that we use predicates, retard, and symbols to represent the propositions we're talking about when we're using inference rule. If P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. Those are predicates or symbols that we're using to represent the actual propositions. I'm saying if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P, that is something valid. However, if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P, we can utter that. However, there not being any logical relationship between idiots, any logical relationship between the propositions being represented by the symbols themselves. So if I type in chat, which I am going to type in chat because you clearly cannot verbally track, maybe you can verbally track, or maybe you can track if I type it in chat. Hold on.
Okay. I guess I'll just unmute him.
Yeah, Infinity didn't get moved down. That
Yeah,
was
mute
annoying.
him.
Look,
Mute him.
so
Well,
no,
I don't
my
understand.
turn,
I don't
buddy.
understand. I
My
don't
turn, buddy.
understand why he's
My
muted.
turn.
I don't understand why he's unmuted. Thank you. So one, stop taking me down. I don't know who that is. That's why I told you to strip everybody. But where's chat at? Where's not showing chat? Never mind. I see it. Not Q. Therefore not P. It's really fucking sad I have to give this nigga basic logic lessons while I'm a fucking fictional debater. This is sad. Now, the utterance, if Goku exists, then Akeno is a gay ass bitch. Stop typing in the fucking channel, y'all. That's annoying as hell. Tricks, delete those messages. Now, that is just a utterance here. Yeah, stop typing in the channel while I'm fucking typing, bitch.
Hey, Tricks, just lock the channel. Give him.
BC channel. I just said that already. Like, are you not tracking? You remind me of Sinthe right now.
Hey, these niggas funny as fuck though. I ain't gonna lie.
If Goku has a BBC, then Naruto gets fucked. Naruto doesn't have a BBC, therefore Goku, or doesn't get fucked, therefore Goku doesn't have a BC. Okay, now you can see that you can utter anything. However, whether or not they have logical connection is determined obviously off of logic. Therefore, if they don't have a logical connection, which are the propositions itself, you can say they're logically invalid. You can utter anything. God exists. Premise one is if God exists, then my bad. If God exists, then Naruto is gay. Naruto isn't gay, therefore God doesn't exist. That's just a utterance. There's no logical connection between the two at all. So even if the conditional was true,
Bro, hurry up, nigga.
my mom keeps talking to me. All right, go ahead, Cindy. You can just respond to that.
Jesus, that was everything that you just said there shows like a lack of understanding for like Logic 101 shit, which is why I do need to give you a lesson on that. One, the argument you just posted is not valid, you fucking idiot. The issue with that argument is that it has no inference rule. Or if it did have an inference rule, it wouldn't be a valid one, right? If P then Q, Q therefore not P. Obviously that doesn't follow. If you are a dog, then you are an animal. You are an animal, therefore you are not a dog? Nonsense. You're retarded, right? Also, those are propositions, not predicates, you stupid fuck. A predicate's something true of the thing, right? So here's an example of predication, right? So for all x, synth of x implies trashing infinity in this debate of x, right? That would be an example of a predicate. Synth is a predicate there, right? Trashing infinity is an debate as a predicate, but the proposition would just be the implication between those two things. So like the s of x implies t of x, right? The synth of x implies trashing infinity of x, right? That's a proposition. You don't know what those are, right? You seem to be confusing those with predicates. So I'll just point it out to you again. The argument that I gave you uses a valid inference rule, modus tollens. What you just gave is not an example of modus tollens. You said if P then Q, Q therefore not P. That's an example. It's not even an example of affirming the consequent. It's like you've affirmed the consequent and then just assumed the negation of the antecedent. Like people don't even use, like even retards don't like come up with fallacies like this. It's like so bad. It's just nonsense. So look, Infinity, if you want a basic 101 logic class, let me know and I can give you one afterwards too. But you're just like genuinely misunderstanding like intro to logic 101 shit, like confusing predicates and propositions. You're confusing like validity, right? The Infinity wants you to let him speak, so I just feel like instead of like doing this weird everyone gets server muted thing, you just let everyone speak constantly. Like honestly, let Akeno, let Affinity, let Apollo speak. Just, like let it be like an open discussion. Like this would get like done so way much faster. Like and the reason why I think this is better is because like you as the moderator, right? You're like on your phone or something, so you're not really able to press him on like answering the questions. He's constantly dodging the same question
I
over
the
and
only
over
one.
again.
Wait, no. You can mute him.
Look, Infinity. What's the no, buddy? You wanted to jump back in.
Don't unmute everybody. Wait, yeah.
No,
So
buddy.
What do you mean? No, just mute him.
No, retard. It's my turn to speak. Look, if you're getting unmuted, I'm gonna keep going. No.
Stop real quick. Oh my fucking God. Finny, just answer the question. Do you want everyone to be muted after you ask your question or not? Just answer that question real quick.
Everybody's gonna be muted. We're gonna keep the same type of moderation the entire debate. Like we already have.
Doesn't agree. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, oh my God, everybody, it's kind of funny how this nigga talks about one-on-one logic lessons when he needs fucking one-on-one reading lessons. I want everybody to look at BC chat. Sync, you are the moderator. I need you to look at BC chat with me. Look at chat, please. Look what I replied to. Everybody look at BC chat. Does it say if P then Q, Q therefore not P, or does it say if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P? Which one does it say? Okay, thank you. It says not. For the recording, the moderator, the one who can actually read, unlike my opponent, agreed that it says not Q, therefore not P. It does not say if P then Q, Q therefore not P. This retard can't fucking read. All he does is stay at home, study up philosophy books, or watching T-Jump debates, and then think he's good after that. That's some fucking retarded shit. Now that I've demonstrated a lack of reading comprehension, I do believe we can move on. Nothing you said actually responded to what I fucking said. Also, you said that there's predicates instead of there being propositions. I was using predicates in a property sense. I was saying that predicate P would be representing proposition X. I'm not saying an actual predicate as in a property. I'm saying that you have some symbol, which is P, that represents an actual proposition, which is, for example, if X is the case, then Y is the case. And then you have hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I was using predicate and property as in the same sense. However, not in this sense. Within this context, I was saying that a predicate is synonymous with a symbol. A symbol represents a proposition. Therefore, if you have a symbol, the symbol is going to be a valid rule of inference. However, the proposition itself is going to be something that is not logically connected to whatever thing you're trying to deem a relationship between. So I'm going to, hold on. Don't unmute him yet.
No.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why he was unmuted in the first place. I want everybody to look at this real quick. Hopefully my teammate can also comprehend this basic level reading shit, my nigga. Like, what the fuck? This nigga is so ass. And then I want y'all to get some fan service, so I'm gonna switch in Akeno maybe after this. Hold on. Yeah, so everybody, peep chat, nigga. Does that say if P then Q? Does that say if P then Q, Q therefore not P? Everybody answer that in chat. My opponent can respond.
Sync.
Go ahead.
Please control your server. Sync.
Everybody answer that question in chat. Everybody. This is like basic Quince level retarded shit. Like, oh my God. Akeno, are you ready to switch in? Thank you, Lemon. So it seems like everybody in chat has a larger comprehensive ability than my opponent, which is kind of sad. Should I just debate my chat or something? I don't know, man. Akeno, are you ready to switch in, answer in DMs? Oh, you stopped paying attention? Well, the true shit they have yet to respond to. Maybe he's just stalling for time every single time he repeats the argument, which we've already heard 20,000 times. But yeah, he has yet to respond to the truth debunk that I gave. But yeah, Akeno said let him speak. Sync, Akeno said let him speak. Sync. If you're speaking, we can't hear you. Tricks, you also have permission. Just unmute, Akeno.
Oh my God.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like this is all unnecessary because the whole thing is that premise one is contingent on whether or not about the truth thing. It's contingent on whether or not in all possible worlds that it would be like this. So that's like
Thank you. Like, oh my, it's so
what
simple.
it's contingent on. So when an
Yeah,
infinity
literally.
asks, "Oh, so what is your understanding of truth in this scenario?" and you give a response like, "Oh, you need to answer whether or not premise 1 or premise 2 is false." He doesn't necessarily need to answer whether or not premise 1 or premise 2 is false if he cannot get past this point. So, Sinthe, do you want to, or Apollo, whoever wants to just join in and just talk, are you going to respond to that?
Yeah,
point?
look. So if you're raising an objection with the validity of the argument, right, that would be something you could raise an objection to. Wasn't doing that. Also, I don't want to like slip past this because Infinity just like blatantly lied about what he wrote down, pretended he got a response from somebody who didn't exist, and so I want to actually ask Sync, Sync, the person who's supposed to be moderating. Are you there? Sync, buddy, are you there? Are you able to talk? We can't hear you. Sync. Oh, he's gone. Jesus. Look, you say if P then Q. You have a hyphen. All right. Sync, buddy. Can you speak? Can you talk, buddy?
Yeah, what's up? What's up? Yeah, what's good? What's good? Yo,
All
yo,
right.
yo, yo, yo.
So tell me if I'm reading this right, just to make sure that
Let
I'm
me
not
see.
lying. I'm reading Infinity's argument. I can even screen capped it for you, right? You can see my screen cap if you just scroll up a bit. Tell me if you can see that, and then I'm gonna go like just tell me when you can see it, and I'll go ahead and tell you what I read that as. You can tell me if I'm reading.
You say you're a screen cap?
Yeah, scroll up to my last match of a screenshot of Infinity's post.
Oh, let me see. Hold on. Wait, where did you send me that? That's I don't know where to look at.
Look, I'll go ahead and repost the same image. Here we go.
All right.
Open a browser, copy image, paste. So Infinity says he typed if P then Q, not hyphen Q, therefore not P. But what I'm reading right there is if P then Q, hyphen Q, therefore not P. Did I read that correctly? If P then Q, hyphen Q, therefore not P sync?
Yeah, I'm not really good at this stuff, but I thought the dash like is like a negation sign, or like something that entails like it to be not or some shit
No,
like
that's
that. I
not.
thought
No, the negation signs like it looks kind of like a dash. Here's what it looks like. It looks like that. You see the difference? What he said he's typing, I'll go ahead and link it to you, right? Because he typed it again. I think he just deleted his message. No, wait, it's right here. Look. See that message I just linked? Can you click on that?
hold on, he got timed out. Hold on, give me a second.
Oh, I don't know.
All
When
right,
it's
yeah,
timed
let me
out.
look.
Yeah, you see that one I just clicked on? The Infinity saying he said?
Yeah.
He's saying he said if P then Q NOT space hyphen Q space therefore space NOT space P.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see where you. Okay. I kind of see
Yeah,
what
do
it's.
you see
Okay,
the
I understand that.
difference? Do you see how the word not is like in what is in one and not the other?
Yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
Okay, go
okay.
ahead.
So I don't know why he pretended like I don't know what the fucking Infinity is doing. He's just retarded. Like this is so deeply embarrassing. But I guess Akeno is now subbed in and not Infinity. So I'll respond to Akeno's point, right? So Akeno, right? There can be two issues, like two kinds of issues with an argument. One is that it can be like invalid, right? One is that the premises can be untrue, right? That would mean that it's like unsound. So an argument being invalid also means that it's unsound. But an argument being an argument being valid doesn't necessarily mean it's sound. So like Akeno, right? Like the point is, the argument that I gave came in the form of modus tollens, right? Which is obviously valid. It's just if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. So here's an example, right? If I am a dog, then I am an animal. I am not an animal, therefore I am not a dog. Right? Now you could reject the I'm not an animal part, right? But obviously that argument's valid. Even if the argument's unsound, it would still be valid. So there's no issue with validity, right? And the premises have all been defended, and Infinity's not even telling me which premise he rejects. So obviously the premises are pretty not very in dispute of the initial argument given. So like Akeno, right? I'll ask you the question I asked Infinity, right? Do you think the argument's invalid, or alternatively, do you think there's an untrue premise? If so, what's the untrue premise?
You're unmuted. Akeno.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it wouldn't let me for some reason. Okay, just like two things. Infinity didn't really get to finish the question, but like I said, I think the whole point
Wait,
for the first yeah yeah I'll just clarify real quick because I'll let you speak. Don't worry. Yeah. So the whole point for his first contention isn't necessarily dependent on whether or not he asks or whether or not he tells you what's sound or what's invalid for your argument. Obviously, something can be valid within your argument. Like I I don't know where it's invalid. I don't think it's invalid. The whole thing is whether or not uh, the whole point of truth. So, is it the case that it's going to be necessarily true within all possible worlds, or is it not going to be true in all possible worlds if this is logically limited? So, and then uh, and then Infinity wanted to give his response to
So
what you're
mistake one
saying.
made by my opponent in lack of tracking. I literally said I was not rejecting any of the premises yet, and I am not explaining how it's invalid. I'm only explaining that under a condition, meaning I'm not objecting to the premises and I'm not saying they're invalid unless this condition is something that is proposed and lays on the table, dumbass. And then for the second thing, I literally said I was using the hyphen to represent a negation sign due to me not having a negation sign within my fucking note server like you, my nigga. I don't have all the propositional symbols within my note server or whatever you fucking have, my nigga. So I used this hyphen. I clarified in VC that that's supposed to represent a negation by saying if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. I literally said that's what I typed out. So obviously the hyphen is supposed to represent a negation sign. It didn't sync. If someone is typing in chat as a debater and they want you to clarify something, you as the moderator who's supposed to progress the debate smoothly, you should mic up and then clarify that instead of just letting us wait our turn. It's basic shit. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that real quick before you go?
You just let him respond.
Repeat it. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. All right. So look, Infinity's having the same trouble as earlier. So no, you're not using the hyphen as a negation sign if you're using the word not as the negation, you fucking idiot. So look, pro tip, if you don't have a way to type out negations and you wanted to use not in one part of it, just use that across the board and then nobody's going to misunderstand you. And you didn't say not Q, or you said Q earlier, which is why I was making fun of you for it. I understand like what you're trying to get at though, so we can probably make some progress. But it seems like you're too caught up in your own emotions to be able to answer my question. Akeno agrees the argument is valid, right? And instead of saying something like there's some issue, right, with the argument outside of that, right? So all that I take an issue with an argument to be is one, an issue of validity where the conclusion doesn't entail or is not entailed by the premises, or two, that one of the premises is false. Now I'll ask this again as a yes or no question, right? And Akeno, if you say no to this, like you can go on to clarify whatever you mean afterwards. This is directed towards Akeno because I think he's actually going to answer it, right? Do you think that any premise of my argument's not true, right? And if so, which one? That's it.
Wait, so
Yeah,
one, he
Infinity.
actually never
Okay.
said that he never granted the fact that the argument is valid. What he said
Yes, he
was he
did.
doesn't see. Please mute him, Sync. I was muted instantly, unlike him. He's still
Bro, it's
unmuted.
because somebody else is moderated. Tricks, is that
That's
you?
just mute him. Anyways, so he never granted that the shut up. He never granted that the argument was logically valid. What he said was, and I'll repeat it for you, retard. What he said was he doesn't see how it's invalid. Him not seeing how it's invalid is not him granting that it is valid, retard. The same as a lack of contradiction does not entail justifier or a justifier for the complement, claim, or conclusion. Anyways, I was representing an hyphen as a negation sign. I literally said that, and there's not a single point in the VC talking time where I said if P and Q, not Q, therefore P. I never said that at all. Maybe we're just all delusional and schizo, and you're the only one correct. However, everybody in BC is disagreeing with you. The only reason why I added the not there because that is the second time I applied modus tollens to chats. The first time you didn't understand a basic thing, which is that the hyphen was supposed to represent a negation sign. Therefore, what did I do? Instead of using the hyphen, because I actually reached clarity, unlike being dishonest like fucking you, since I actually reached clarity, instead of using the hyphen, which is supposed to represent the negation sign, I used the word not. The word not because you would actually understand that, unlike your understanding for the hyphen. So go ahead, Akeno. And then also, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Akeno. Did you not say, I do not see how it is invalid? Or did you say what Syntha's retarded ass said, which is, it is valid and I grant that it is valid? Go ahead, Akeno.
Yeah, I mean, I did say what Infinity said. I think he's just inferring from the fact that there's an absence of it. So it's like I understand his position, but I'm not necessarily granting because I'd like to get into this like the actual substance of the argument. Because I feel like we still have yet to go over the first point, and I think we should try and attack that. Obviously, I do disagree with the premises, but I feel as though there needs to be some clarity for the original point. And I do think that we need to go over the validity before we can even get into any other points. If you understand what I'm trying to say, Sinthe.
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say, but if you say it's not invalid, that's the same as to say it's valid, right? So, like, obviously, it's not valid is the same as saying it is valid. So that's just going to entail that. So I directed a question at like Akeno and like never got a chance to get an answer from it. And Affinity like jumped in instead and then didn't answer on Akeno's behalf. So I'll direct this question once again at Akeno, right? Akeno, the argument comes in the form of if P then Q. Oh, but I actually want to address something Infinity said earlier first. So Infinity, right? I'm not telling you that you said not Q at any point in the discussion. That's actually what I'm telling you that you didn't say, right? I don't know if you're tracking or not. I'm telling you didn't say not Q. That's the problem. So back to Akeno though, right? Like Akeno, the argument comes in the form of if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. Now, do we agree with two things? That is the form the argument comes in, and that form is modus tollens, a valid form of inference. That's what I'm asking. That was directed at Akeno, and hopefully he'll answer it.
Okay, I think like when Infinity says that the rule of inference is going to necessarily be valid, he's saying that the way we apply it doesn't necessarily. Oh, yeah, wait, Infinity, you can go first.
Oh my god, this is so retarded. Okay, so one, I never said that you made the claim that I said it represented modus tollens in a way in which is if P then Q, not Q there, not Q therefore P. I'm saying that's the way I represented it in this entire conversational time, idiots. I agree that you made the claim that I used it and represented it in a way which says if P then Q, Q therefore not P. I agree that's what you said. However, that's not what I said at all. Maybe we're just all delusional, like I said the first time. However, everybody in VC disagrees with you, other than your dick rider fucking Apollo. So go ahead, Akeno.
Oh, yeah, hello. Uh, I don't think I really need to speak on anything because I've asked the same thing and I've asked for clarity on the same point at least 3 times, maybe twice in chat. Not even 3 times, more than 3 times on a multitude of occasions. I'm just waiting on the response for the first point because it genuinely like this is what this point is contingent on um, whether or not the value of truth here is going to be necessarily the case in all possible worlds, or whether or not in some cases or within a separate reality it's going to be this way. And I think that this needs to be answered first regarding the truth point. Then we can actually get into the actual substance of the debate. Just like yeah, that's really all I have to say.
Okay, Sinthe, can I unmute Apollo real quick? Because he said he wanted to talk a long time ago. I forgot to tell you.
Well, you can, but before we do that, Akeno's not done. Akeno still
Okay.
has to answer my question, right? And you as the moderator, hopefully you can press him on answering that question.
I got you.
Wait, what was your question?
I'll ask it again. It's fair if you forgot because it happened a long time ago and Infinity begged to speak first. So, Akeno, the question is just, is it true the argument comes in the form of, like, hopefully we can just keep us both unmuted keep him unmuted. I want to be able to answer the question without, like, the back and forth thingy. Just keep Akeno, yeah. Akeno, right? I'm just asking
Okay.
you, does the argument come in the form of if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P, and is that modus tollens a valid rule of inference?
Yeah, Infinity is saying, right, and this is what the point of contingency is on as well. Like, he's saying that the rule of inference is a valid rule. However, the way we use it and the way we actually apply it within an argument could be invalid. So, I'd like clarity from Infinity for this
Before
point.
you, I don't want you to clarify with Infinity. I want you to answer my question.
Well,
Is
the
that
thing,
true? Does the
okay.
argument come in that form?
Well, I mean, that's what it's contingent on. I think Infinity should be the one to answer it.
Well, I'm asking you. Does the argument come in that
Well,
form?
it doesn't really matter if you're asking me because the whole point was between you and Infinity. If Infinity in this
I'm
for
asking you what
this
you believe.
hold on. For this specific point and for how the flow of the debate is going, I would want Infinity to answer the question because
Infinity won't answer the question.
okay, I
I'm
think he
asking you because
does.
he hasn't
Okay,
answered.
are you
What's
going
your
to let
answer?
me speak? Are you going to let me speak?
I'm only
Sinthe?
going to let you answer.
Sinthe, I don't care if you're going to let me answer or not. I need you to be muted because you don't shut the fuck up. Thank you. Okay. So Infinity was saying, right? Ye- bro. Okay. The whole point of contingency is whether or not the rule of inference here is being validly used. Okay. Infinity, for the flow of the debate and the sake of not having some weird contradictions between me and him. He would need to answer the question. I don't think you're understanding your track. So I'd like infinity rather than redirecting. Hold on, don't unmute him. Redirecting the
Jesus,
question
Hellboy.
to me. Okay, don't unmute him. Redirecting the question to me that that flow of the debate is on stake because infinity needs to answer the question. That is what is on stake, the flow of the debate. So I'd rather infinity answer the question. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, the question was just, does the argument come in the form if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P? Yes or no? Akeno, you can answer that. Infinity, you can answer that. If you don't want to be able to, if neither of you are going to answer questions, I don't know why either of you are in this debate. You could just leave. Now, the question was hopefully, like, Sync, if you're like going to moderate, you could either just keep us all unmuted so I can press for the question answer, or alternatively, right, you can press for the question answer. Either of those work with me. Just true or false, yes or no?
Okay, all right. Affinity, just hold on. Go ahead, Affinity. You're unmuted, but do you mind just answer the question so we can move on, please? 'Cause I think Affinity, you gotta leave and join back.
Yes, is modus tollens. Yes, is modus tollens. However, whether or not the propositional connection is actually there is distinct, which we've already argued upon. I would like to move on. I already gave a distinction between the rule of inference being valid in every scenario and then there being propositional connection. The rule of inference uses symbols such as P and Q to represent the propositions. However, whether or not the propositions themselves, which are being represented by P and Q, have logical connection is distinct from the rule of inference having logical connection in every scenario. The rule of inference is if P and Q not Q, therefore not P. That is the rule of inference. That follows due to the conditional being true if it were to be true. However, when we're talking about the propositional connection, if you mention God, which is uncorrelated to someone like One Piece or Sync's bitch ass, that would have no propositional connection, i.e., therefore not being valid.
Yeah, look, so saying something like the propositional connectedness is blah, 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 blah. It's all schizobabble. None of that has anything to do with, like, normal usage of logic. If it's the case the argument comes in the form of modus tollens, then it is valid. What you're trying to do is reject the soundness of the argument. You fucking idiot. You're trying to reject that one of the premises is true, right? So the argument obviously comes in that form. The argument's obviously valid. If all the premises are true, then the conclusion is necessarily entailed. That's going to be something that's just, by definition, if it's coming in the form of modus tollens, no matter what P and Q you sub in there, that will always be a valid argument, not always a sound argument. So just if you think it's the case there's some examples of P and Q you can substitute in there whereby the argument no longer becomes valid, go ahead and give me an example. Akeno can do that since Infinity is gone for some reason again. Just unmute Akeno and let him try to give an example of a modus tollens argument that's not valid.
You're unmuted.
Wait, sorry, what happened? Infinity left. What happened? Wait, Infinity's here.
Basically,
What?
he wants you to give an argument from the
No,
logically
wait,
bound and
Infinity is literally.
no, he left.
Yeah, yes. No, look in chat. Are you gonna let him up,
Oh,
or
I
is this
see him. I
gonna
see him.
or is
Oh,
this
my
gonna be
fault.
an issue with the moderator?
Okay, okay, go ahead, go ahead. Is he muted? Hold on, let me see. All right, go ahead, Affinity.
Yeah, I don't really know who keeps on dragging me down, but I'm saying you're making an attempt to explain modus tollens retard. I'm not saying that I agree with the argument being modus tollens. My answer was correlative to an attempt at it being modus tollens, which is distinct. I've already answered the first question that you gave, but you keep on saying I'm dodging. However, there was no dodge there, retard. So I'll repeat the answer I gave under the condition, which is the question that I asked initially. If there is a positive answer, then sure, it is logically valid. However, if there is a negative answer, it would not be logically valid. I don't believe that your argument or I don't believe your answer adequately is something that is correlated to the question. Therefore, we can conclude, please, we're not going anywhere with this. We can go to the rejection of the premises. I believe I won the first point, which is just the correspondence shit. The question has been answered. You keep on saying I'm dodging it. You just have a lack of tracking. I don't know
Yeah,
who
that's not. Oh, he's still not done. Jesus. Look, the question was just give an example of an argument that comes in the form of modus tollens that isn't valid. Now you're saying, I don't agree the argument is modus tollens. But I made sure to give a direct, very clear question of, does the argument come in the form of if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P? If the argument comes in that form, that's what modus tollens means, you fucking idiot. So I'm going to ask this question directly. And this time you're gonna get an answer. Hopefully, we'll get an answer. Honestly, Infinity, the idea that you've won any point in this, given the fact that you've dodged every single fucking question and made it very blatant you're doing so, is fucking gold. If you want, I can remind you of why correspondence theory is untrue, which is just that no, in the case of unicorns, they don't exist. You fucking idiot. So the question was once again, right? Is it the case you can give an example of an argument that comes in the form of modus tollens, right? The form of if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. You can sub those the P's and Q's for whatever you want. Just make sure it comes in that form and spit it the fuck out. Give the example of an argument in the form of modus tollens that's not valid. Just one. Don't dodge again, you retarded bitch.
Is this nigga's bad? Please meet him saying thank you. So what the fuck? This dude said I dodged the question. He repeated the question, which wasn't a question, by the way. He said, give the example. That's a fucking imperative, retard. This nigga literally learns logic and studies logic all day, but he doesn't even know basic fucking English, my nigga. This is retarded as fuck. This is basic shit. Please let Apollo speak. Even though he's the Teemo version of you, at least he knows basic level fucking English, nigga. Anyways, so one, I don't need to give an example. Secondly, for the unicorn shit, I already responded to that shitty ass argument. And then thirdly, the rule of inference is valid. However, dumbass, I'm saying if there's no propositional connection, that will be invalid. That is separated from the rule of inference. If P then Q, not Q, therefore not P, that's the rule of inference. That will be logically valid. However, I'm saying if the propositions have no logical connection, it would not be logically valid at all. And then for your argument, I'm saying you made an attempt at it being modus tollens. However, we're going to go on to the rejection of it. I just wanted to ask that question. Since you're so scared and afraid to give an adequate answer, we can move on to the actual rejection of the premises now. So let's look at it. Where's the argument? I reposted.
Do you want him to be unmuted or?
No, he can repost. Yeah, he can repost the argument. I don't know why y'all allowed niggas to speak in this chat.
Well, actually, no. I'm gonna let him go. Hold on.
Yeah, you can scroll up and see the argument again, but I'll just read it out for you, right? And you can maybe like if you don't want to scroll that high, you can just hear what I'm saying, right? And try to listen and remember. The argument is just if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible to have P zombies. It is not the case it's logically impossible to have P zombies. Therefore, physicalism is not true. Right? That's been the argument the entire time. Now, you saying blah, 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 the logical connectiveness, blah, 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 that's schizobabble. Doesn't mean anything, right? Obviously, it is the case that if all of these premises are true, then it necessarily entails the conclusion. If you'd like to give an example of a world in which all the premises are true, right, and the laws of logic hold true as well, but the conclusion doesn't follow, please feel fucking free, retard. Until then, right, I'm gonna keep repeating this fucking argument over and over again. You're gonna keep having no argument against it. Which, because, I mean, the major reason here is just because you don't understand, like, logic 101 shit, right? Like, the argument obviously comes in the form of modus tollens. Obviously valid. Saying there's no logical connectiveness. That doesn't mean anything, right? Saying there's no logical connectedness. If you're saying that, like, just physicalism is true, that doesn't entail that it's logically impossible for P-zombies to exist. That's not an issue with the validity of the argument. That's an issue with the soundness of the argument. That means you're rejecting P1. If it's the case you're saying something else, right, then I mean, try your best to trace out what you're saying. Because currently you're just, like, misusing philosophical jargon in a way that's, like, totally proprietary that nobody else uses it. Which I guess explains it, given that you didn't know what a fucking predicate was because you're retarded. You thought that modus tollens were the same as an implication.
I never
Also,
said
Apollo wants to speak, so we can help
please
over
meet
him.
please meet him. I never said that modus tollens was the same as the implication, retard. I said I was summing up modus ponens, not modus tollens. Please track modus ponens by saying if P then Q. Of course, that's a conditional statement. However, I don't need to actualize the conditional statement to explain modus ponens. Instead, if you understand what I'm saying is modus ponens, because I said prior, I'm going to represent modus ponens in some type of way here, which is if P then Q, and then the actualization of it would be modus ponens. If P then Q, P therefore Q, that would be modus ponens. And then you brought up modus tollens, which is if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. That's completely fine. I agree with that. There was no conflation there. You're just retarded and you can't understand basic level shit. Anyways, in response to the other thing, hold on. Yeah, so one, where's the contradiction in P zombies existing and physicalism being true? Thirdly, I'm asking you if it is the case that physicalism follows within reality but does not follow in another possible world, quote unquote, where is the necessity that physicalism necessarily denotes P zombies being there? Since you just seem to dodge my question. You also said every statement I made about the philosophy babble, quote unquote, was meaningless. You making that claim doesn't make it true. I don't understand how it's meaningless at all if everybody in chat is able to understand it and comprehend it but you. So yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, two big issues with the retard just said there. Issue one is that, yeah, like you didn't ask the question, right? So no shit, it didn't get answered. But the funny thing is, this is one of those rare exceptions where you didn't ask a question and there is an answer to it that if you just listen back and remember the conversation, you know. The argument in favor of P1, which is not what you're denying, thank God you're finally denying a fucking premise. The argument in favor of if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for P-zombies to exist, is just that on physicalism, that just means that it's the case that for any particular mental thing, that just means the same thing. To say that like there is mental stuff, that you're describing something physical, right? That's all you're describing there. So obviously it's the case that it's going to be impossible for P-zombies to exist, because if physicalism is true, then something could not be physically identical without being mentally identical. That's what that means. That's what physicalism is. It's just analytic, right? P1 is analytically true. There's not a rejection of it that's even possible without rejecting the laws of logic. It's just a definition of physicalism. Also, Apollo still wants to speak, and the Akeno guy on their team is like begging to go to conclusions in the chat. And I'm down to do like a closing statement or something whenever they're ready. But let Apollo speak first.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. Yeah, so as Sin said, physicalism entails like an analytic identity relation so far as if all the mental stuff is it's just physical brain stuff, then that means it's going to be the case and vice versa.
Your mic cut out again, bro.
The physical
Uh, hold on, I'm gonna mute Sinthe with you.
Yeah, and I'll just be able to finish up what Apollo's saying. Right. So look, like if physicalism is true, obviously that would mean that all the physical facts would determine all the facts. So that would just like this like obvious why that's true, right? That's just what physicalism means. Physicalism just means the physical facts determine all facts. So like if physicalism is true, that also means that anything that is physically identical to me will in all ways be identical to me, right? That's just because physicalism determines all the facts. There couldn't be other facts in play. So like if I can conceive of a zombie, right, a P-zombie or something, right? A being that is physically identical to me, then it's possible that the P-zombies exist metaphysically. In the case, if there's no contradiction to tell with P-zombies, then obviously they're possible logically. So there's no contradiction to tell by P-zombies existing, so they're obviously possible logically, right? And a zombie is not in always identical to me, right? They're not. It's not the case that like a P-zombie would be in always identical to me. They'd only be physically identical to me, right? It lacks first-person subjective consciousness. It lacks that aspect. It lacks the mental stuff. That's just what a P-zombie is, right? So therefore, physicalism is false. And if you can't forward an argument that rejects one of those premises, right, then you should at least try to forward an argument that rejects my argument for one of the premises.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Akeno.
Okay, cool. All right, I guess I'll just get into it for the last time before we get into any concluding statements. Specifically for this point, there were a multitude of things that we need to actually go over. Like, for instance, oh my god. Okay, just let Infinity speak.
Okay, my point's going to be short. I know you can speak directly after. However, one, he conflated something. That's why the question that I asked before engaging within this conversation of the first primacy was completely relevant. He's saying I'm dodging the question. However, I gave a completely relevant question. I would like to talk to the moderator because maybe he's more fucking sufficient or competent. So, Sync, please mic up.
What's good, sir?
Yes. So if truth doesn't entail necessity, then physicalism can be true within our reality. However, it can be possibly false within a possible world. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it follows that we're arguing about our reality, whether or not physicalism is true, whether or not the mind is immaterialistic or materialistic within our reality, if he does not believe that truthfulness entails necessity, then it would follow that within this reality, physicalism can be the case, while in a possible world, it can be the case that P-zombies exist, even though they're contradictory. So it will only be a contradiction if they're both the case within the same reality. However, if there's a presupposition that truth doesn't entail necessity, it would not be a contradiction to say that physicalism is true within our reality, but it can possibly be false or it is not the case within a possible world. So he has yet to draw the connection between the two. That's why I asked the question. Now he understands the relevance for the third time, because this is the third time I explained the relevance. And then I'm asking you, what is the argument as to why P-zombies are something, if I were to go under the presupposition, because I'm giving two arguments, if I were to go under the presupposition that truth does entail necessity, what is the argument as to why P-zombies contradict physicalism? Is it not the case that the P-zombies can be all identical when it comes to factual states? If you're presupposing that there's a mental state in which isn't identical with the physical state, that's completely fine, but that's just a presupposition. I want the argument for that.
Yeah, so Yeah, so I'm not making the argument that something being true entails its necessity. Some things being true entails a necessity claim. Not all things. So I'll talk with the moderator to it. I think I can get him to understand this because it's not that complicated of a point.
What's
Physicalism's
better, bro?
thesis is about two things being analytically identical, right? Physicalism's thesis is not about is it the case that just happens to be true in this world, right? If physicalism is true, that just means that any mental thing, by definition, would just be the same as saying something about the physical world. It would just mean the same thing. So, like, obviously, some things forward some kind of like necessity thesis, some things forward analytic relations. So, like, here's an example, right? Like sync. If somebody says 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? That's something which is necessarily true, right?
Well, somewhat, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, not somewhat, right? Like 2 plus 2 equals 4 is necessarily true. It follows from the laws of logic alone, right?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, it follows from the laws of logic and term definitions. So, from the definition of physicalism, what that means is just that any mental thing is just another way of phrasing some physical thing, right? It's just another way of describing physical stuff, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So if all it means to say something like this thing has different mental content is to say something about its physical facts. That just means if it had different mental facts, it would have to have different physical facts, right?
Wait, real quick. Wait, one affinity. I'm not the one who's kicking you down. I don't know who's doing that.
Yeah. No, you get that last part, right? If something has different mental facts, by definition on the physicalist account, it has to have different physical facts, even in other possible worlds.
If they're the same, sure. Mate, I'm
Yeah,
not. By the
exactly.
way, wait, hold on, wait. By the way, whatever I
You're
say,
not
that
debating.
is
No,
not.
I know you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
making sure
yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm making sure you follow it, not because I think it commits infinity to any of this, right? I'm making sure you understand why that follows, just so I can make sure that like it's not just like infinity, like it's not just like infinity not understanding something in good faith. It's like him actively trying to not understand something. It just makes it more clear. So like Sync, you understand like physicalism's thesis just forwards that like any mental thing or like the physicalism that like you could have some different variant or some different definition of physicalism. The kind of physicalism we're talking about here, right? Just means that any mental fact is just the same as some physical fact. You get that, right?
Yeah, well, I don't get it, but go about what you're saying. Then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like obviously it just like it doesn't mean like it happens to be the same, right? Or that it like just happens to correlate one to one. That would be compatible with dualism, right? You could say something like you need physical stuff to have a mind. That could be compatible with a dualist view. That could be compatible with an idealist view, even, right? The physical stuff could like all supervene onto mental stuff, and it could be the case that all mental stuff happens to have physical stuff that comes along with it. That's all stuff that's compatible with the other ones. The thing the physicalist is like specifically saying, right, is just that when I say like I am thinking, all I'm actually saying is just the brain is doing stuff, right? Some like specific stuff. So if that's all the physicalist is saying is that when I'm thinking, I'm describing the brain doing stuff, then if it was the case that the brain was doing the same stuff, then I'd be thinking. If it's the case the brain can do the same stuff and it's not logically entailed that I'm thinking, then it's the case that obviously physicalism is false. But that's it. I don't know. Like Apollo wants to hop in too, and I know
Wait,
Akeno
hold on,
also
wait,
No,
real
wants
okay,
quick.
to.
no, because
Wait,
y'all are being
affinity.
retarded.
No,
No, Sync, you're being retarded. Why would you mute us? Why would you mute us? You chill. Why would you mute us if Akeno literally said right after he was going to speak, and then you just mute me and just let Sinthe fucking ramble?
no,
Yeah,
because
I don't.
oh my
Oh
I
no,
don't
fucking
I
god.
see.
literally said Akeno's going to go directly after me, the same as you let Apollo go directly after Sinthe, and then you let Sinthe go after Apollo 3 times. Yes, that happened.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I
Any.
heard is that okay.
Wait,
The only
Akeno,
thing
wait,
I
let me
heard.
respond to that real quick. So one,
Okay,
Okay.
go
my
ahead.
belief on yeah, when I assert physicalism, all I'm saying is that within our reality, everything is physical. So obviously, when you're referring to a mental state, it's going to be identical with a physical fact. If all physical facts exist within reality, that tells a mental state is going to be inclusive of that physical stat or of state or fact if the mental state is physical. However, you're trying to say that I'm arguing a necessary view. I'm not saying physicalism is necessary at all. All I'm saying is that if, by the way, I'm not saying it's necessary under the question's hypothetical. So if the question is answered yes, that means truth does entail necessity, meaning that if something is true within reality, then it's necessarily true, as in it's the case in all possible worlds. So if physicalism follows within reality, that means it follows in every possible world. Therefore, it's impossible for P zombies to exist if it would entail a non-physical state or non-identifying physical state. That's under a conditional, though. I'm asking you, what is the P zombie state in which is going to be contradictory towards the physicalism argument or position without creating a presupposition which is unjustified? What presupposition or what argument do you have doesn't create a presupposition of your position? And then Think, I would like to speak to you. Just the same as he spoke to you.
Bro, oh my god, like bro, I'm a judge
Nope.
mod
Yeah,
and I
because
gotta
you're the
mod the
moderator. You're
server.
supposed to progress it. You're supposed to progress the
Uh-oh.
conversation correctly. So if I don't feel like he's understanding something, I would like to appeal to you to make you understand it.
Yeah, what's up? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yes. So if it is the case that physicalism is true within reality, but not true in every single universe, there can be a universe where something that contradicts physicalism in our reality, there can be a universe where that exists in another reality, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I say physicalism is the case within reality, that means every single mental state within this reality would be identical with a physical state or a physical fact, correct?
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that mean that every single thing external to this reality would have to be identical with a physical state?
No.
Okay, basic shit. Akeno, go.
Dude, I don't even feel like I need to respond to anything. I'll just give some sort of clarity. One, they have yet to respond to the very first argument that we've given, and then tried to say that, oh, you're dodging the question, you're dodging this, you're dodging that. Then they go on to say that there's some sort of philosophical jargon that's going on when we bring up logical connectives or some sort of logical connection. They've yet to justify the validity or the logical connection between each premise. I don't know if that was gone over yet, but that's fine. I really don't give a shit. Thirdly, whenever they ask, oh, where is whether or not there's some sort of contention to the soundness. Yeah, no kidding. There is some sort of connection to the soundness. You still have to go over the first 2 points. If you want to go into a conclusion, then we can conclude on these few points because you have yet to justify anything and you have yet to give some sort of clarity to your arguments. You've just been going on and on, giving the same arguments, the same recollection. Like I'm tired of it. If you want to, if you guys specifically want to go to conclusions, let's just go to conclusions. I'm tired of waiting.
And then for clarity, real quick, obviously, since the lack of our chromosomes is taking over your comprehensive skills, I'm going to repeat the question that I want you to answer. What arguments or definition of P-zombies do you have that doesn't presuppose your position being true, God?
Okay, hold on. Let me give me a second. All right, Sinthe and Apollo, you guys are both unmuted.
Yeah, I'll answer the question first because unlike Infinity, I know how to do that, right? The definition of P-zombie I have, which doesn't entail my position being true, is just a P-zombie is something which is physically identical to me, but not mentally identical to me, right? Now, if you say something like that definition entails my position is true, that wouldn't be true because I could have just defined something like, for example, right? If I define out like a P-zombie as a contradiction, right? It doesn't entail that contradictions are real by having that definition. So obviously, it's not going to entail anything about the facts of the world or something. Now, what you've described when you said when you say like thinking or mental stuff, what you define those as a physicalist, you define those terms analytically to just be some statement about the physical stuff. So for me to say something like a P-zombie is a thing which is physically identical and not mentally identical, that would be the same as to say a P-zombie is something which is physically identical and not physically identical if you're correct on your semantic thesis, which is why you'd have to posit they're logically impossible on your semantic thesis. You're not tracking these really, really simple entry-level arguments. Akeno, by the way, I've got like a friend of mine wants me to go watch a movie where they're in like 20 minutes. So I'm gonna have to do that soon. And Akeno said he's really tired and wants to like move to closing anyways. If they want, they can close first.
I would like to respond to the shitty argument you just gave. Mute him real quick, and then that
first,
is
and
correct.
then we can go to
That's
closing
fine.
if you want.
Yeah. You mute him, Sync. Yeah, so Sync, I'm going to speak to you. So, oh my God, if everything is physical, Sync, that would entail that the mental state is identical with a physical fact, correct?
Wait, repeat it. Hold on, I was muting.
If everything is physical, that would entail your mental state is inclusive of a physical fact, correct?
If everything is physical, this for your mental state would be inclusive or exclusive?
Inclusive. If everything is physical,
Yeah.
your mental state is physical. If he defines a P-zombie as something that is identical with every single physical aspect of you, however, it is non-identical mentally, does that not presuppose the mental state is something that is non-identical with the physical state? Thank you. So if you say physicalism is true, or if physicalism is true, then P zombies cannot exist. P zombies are possible. Therefore, physicalism is something that is not true. That would presuppose P zombies are possible in the first place because you're presupposing your position. If you say that physicalism does not follow due to P zombies, however, P zombies is just defined as physical identification without a non-identifying mental state that presupposes that the mental state itself is non-identical with the physical state of affairs that we're referring to. Therefore, you have to justify that that's logically possible. You have yet to give an argument as to why that's logically possible. Obviously, if physicalism is true, that would contradict a P zombie existing in which is identical with you physically in every single way, however, non-identical with you mentally. Because premise one, or actually, let me just lay it out for simple terms, and then we can conclude, like you said. So, one, everything is physical. Two, everything includes a mental state. Three, the mental state is physical by virtue of that. Four, if you have a person who is identical with you physically in every scenario, then that would also include the mental state. Therefore, if you define a P zombie as someone who's identical with you physically but not identical with you mentally, that would presuppose the fact that the mental state is immaterialistic, which means you're presupposing your position, Sinthe. So for the crowd, it seems as if he's failed to answer my question, which was simply, can you give a definition of a P zombie in which does not presuppose your position? I just laid out the presupposition and we can conclude. That is my opening, or that's my last statement if he doesn't respond to that.
Yeah, I've got another statement then. It's pretty easy to respond to this. So look, infinity, the definition doesn't presuppose P2, right? Just because I've defined something doesn't mean that that thing is like possibly existing. P2 is just
Finally,
possible
can I
that it
speak?
exists. Yeah, we
Bugging
can
out?
both bounce back
No?
and forth. You can go first, and I'll hop back in afterwards.
Cool. Yeah, so like simply it's gonna be the case that when you're gonna say the mind is physical, that's gonna be like an identity claim really. So that just means for two things to be identical, they cannot be different. And for two things to be different, there has to be like a distinguishing feature. Now we know that one thing which is true of mental states is that for any mental state G, it is a mental state, right? That's just obviously true.
Mhm.
And for any physical state P, for any physical state P, it is a physical state P. Now, we know this to be the case based off our conceptual analysis of mental states and physical states, respectively. And we also know that it is logically possible for mental states to exist in the absence of physical states. So that would mean there's something which is true of mental states, which are not true of physical states. And that is simply that for any mental state X, right, it does not require a physical state. Whereas for any physical state X or Y, it requires a physical state. So that's going to be a distinguishing feature between a physical state and a mental state. This follows from Leibniz's law of identity. In case you're aware of this or not, don't know if you're really aware of this because you're retarded. But it's just pretty simple that like it's going to be analytically entailed from the concept of physicalism that it is not the case that physicalism would be true if you grant it is logically possible for there to be like, let's say, pain sensation qualia in the absence of C fiber stimulation.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, just to be really clear, I wanted to point this out because it's actually really funny. But Infinity was initially contesting P1. Now Infinity has completely dropped that contesting of P1. So I guess he's just lost
Oh,
in that
one
point.
more thing, by the
Yeah,
way,
you
one
go
more
ahead.
thing, by the way.
Go ahead.
Because they've been like speaking for so long, and that this is like the first time I'm actually speaking. Infinity asked me, retardedly, he asked me, could you prove that someone can employ modal logic in philosophical talks in the absence of classical logic? Like you fucking retard. Literally, modal logic systems which do not presuppose classical logic. You have nomenological modality, whereas the principles which fixes the modal status of propositions are not something which refers to the laws of logic, but more specifically nomenological principles or naturalistic laws, right? So yes, you can have modal conversations or modal logic analysis independently of classical logic being presupposed. Like think of like any person who adopts like a non-classical logic system. Like, do you believe that it is logically impossible for them to employ modal logic in the absence of classical logic? So that is demonstrate like a contradiction. But obviously, there's not a contradiction in someone using modal logic analysis or modal logic system in the absence of them presupposing classical logic. There's no logical contradiction in such. So that means it can happen. And more specifically, I just given examples in extensive accounts of there being modal logic systems which do not presuppose classical logic.
Yeah, yeah. And I kind of wanted to talk with Sync for just a really quick second. Sync, are you able to unmute?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, so look, if I define like a P zombie as, I'll just do like a really silly definition, right? A P zombie is something which makes contradictions true, right? That's what a P zombie is. Does that presuppose that P zombies exist?
No, no.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So the definition of P-zombies, whether or not like infinity has some contention with whether or not those things are possible, right? That's P2 of the argument. The definition won't entail any kind of thing about that thing's existence. Definitions actually can't entail anything about a thing's existence. If you had some definition where you included some fact about something's existence inside of it, you'd actually have a malformed definition. You'd be using existence as a predicate, which is like a commonly understood issue in philosophy, right? You can't predicate existence. So if you want to like try to forward some argument of like, that definition begs the question on P2, like obviously it wouldn't beg the question on P2 because you could just say, look, yeah, that's the definition of what a P-zombie is. That thing, those things are impossible. Therefore, there's none of those that exist. So you can have a definition for things that's impossible. Like here's an example, right? Like, so I'm an atheist, right? Apollo's not, so maybe he'll disagree with this definition. But I'm an atheist, so I'll say something like, there are some definitions of God that entail
What the hell?
contradictions, right? So those definitions of gods that entail contradictions, right? Just because I have that definition doesn't mean that I think those things exist or that they're possible. I can just say, look, this is a definition of a thing, and it's impossible. So anytime you say like X is impossible, whatever definition you're using for X, it's not going to entail that it's some kind of possibility statement, right? You can have a definition for a term without saying that thing isn't. It's entail those things are possible. That's just a really silly jump from infinity. Like I don't know how long we're gonna keep doing the back and forth of infinity, not understanding this here, but like I'll maybe try to like trace it out again, and hopefully this time I'll get it right. So the argument we have for why your semantic analysis is wrong, right? Your semantic thesis here is just wildly incorrect, is because the average person has the intuition that we can imagine what it would be like, right? For the thing to be the same in all the physical facts about it, but be different on the mental facts, right? Which is just to say it doesn't have that likeness, it doesn't have that like what it's like going on, right? So if I ask you what is it like to be infinity, you can start saying, well, my mom comes in my room all the time and like yells at me and like all these things about like what it's like, all these experiences you have, right? But those aren't, you're not gonna be like listing out like physical facts about you because those aren't what it's like to be you. What it's like to be you is about the first-hand experiences you have. So it's kind of silly to like forward some argument against the possibility of P-zombies by just saying like, look, my semantic thesis entails they're impossible. Yeah, that's the entire point, dog. Your semantic thesis entails they're impossible, which, by the way, is you granting P1, you fucking idiot. So like I just want to make it super clear. If Infinity's dropping the contingent with P1, he lost on that point. We forwarded an argument for why P-zombies are possible. I'll do it again just to make it really clear, right? So our semantic analysis of these terms of what a mind is and what a physical thing is are different from yours. We think that the average person can understand the intuition for what it would be like to be something and what it's not like to be something. We understand rocks don't have a what it's like going on. There's nothing it's like to be a rock. There's no experiences a rock has. So we can imagine that thing, which is physically identical to us and all the facts, but doesn't have any of the same mental facts about it. Shut up, bitch. I own you. But look, if Infinity wants to try his best, shut up, bitch. I own you. But if Infinity wants to,
Who
like,
is this
try to
like black retard? Like, shut up, retard.
Whoa,
God
the
damn.
racism from Apollo is unreal. I can't believe this Jamaican guy hates black people. But yeah, no, I don't know if Apollo, if you want to add anything more, you can.
No, I don't think I need to.
Okay, I don't know. You guys
Okay,
should
all right, I'm
be
on
Infinity
mute.
and Akeno.
Got you. Hold on. Meet y'all boys. All right, bitch, nigga, name
Oh
Infinity.
my god, they chose the absolute worst person to do this on because unlike 20,000% of the I can track every single argument, that low tier ass fucking speech, every single thing that he said I can track. Now, okay. What the fuck? Oh my god, everything you said was just wrong and fucking ass. In response, one, I'm not saying that you're asserting the definition is true. I'm saying that your definition presupposes what you're trying to argue. That doesn't mean that the definition entails a reference. Instead, that just means your definition of a P-zombie entails obviously that there's going to be a contradiction of physicalism. However, if your definition does not have correspondence to reality in a sense where a P-zombie does not actually exist, there's no contradiction to physicalism. That's like saying if you lose, then you winning is a contradiction. Obviously. However, if in reality there is no possibility where that P-zombie exists, unless you presuppose your position, which is immaterialism, then it would follow. So physicalism is true. Therefore, under your definition of P-zombies cannot exist. P-zombies being everything that's identical physically, but non-identical mentally. That cannot exist if everything is physical in the first place. Therefore, you would have to be assuming that this P-zombie thing is possible in the first place, which it isn't possible due to the mental state being something that would be inclusive of a physical fact if everything is physical. Secondly, in response to Apollo's jibber jabber, this Timu ass fucking shitty D1 fucking argument, in response to that shit, we can use different labels, letters, references utterances, etc., to reference the same thing. So you can have a dog. I can call that dog a bitch. I can call that dog my dick holder. I can call that dog sink,
What?
etc. It can still mean the same thing. So when you say G mental state and P physical state, even though you're using different symbols, different letters, different words, etc., to represent the referent, it can still be the same thing without you presupposing your position. So if you say mental state, I can reference it as a mental state, but it still be a physical state of affairs. The same as I have a chair and I have my arm. Both of these things are physical. However, they have different functions and different physical properties in which I can analytically distinguish them. I can analytically distinguish them or use to analytically distinguish them. Now, in response to the other shit,
Oh
yeah,
my
when you're talking
god,
about
dude.
modal logic, the modal conversation shit, we're obviously in reference to logical modal conversations. That's what I was in reference to, and that's what Sinthe was in reference to. Obviously, you can't track. You were just sitting on the sidelines like a little fucking cheerleader, you bitch ass nigga. But anyways, we were talking about logical modal conversations. I don't care about naturalistic modal conversations because that's irrelevant to what we're talking about. So when I say that logical modality is an extension of classical logic, that is logical modality. The same as if the conversation or topic of conversation is logic, then you can make the assessment and it be reasonable that we're talking about logical modality instead of you referring to epistemological modality or naturalistic modality. That's completely irrelevant. That's completely irrational to actually think that we're talking about that when it's out of context. In response to argument 20,000, because Singh just left them shotgunners for some reason. When you're talking about conceivability, I don't understand why you think it's intuitive and that we can conceive of us having a physical state with or us having a mental state without us having a physical state. That's just another presupposition, and that's just you presupposing that's conceivable in the first place. Also, I don't agree with the conceivability thesis. Now, what I do agree with is that we can conceive of not having some physical parts while we have other physical parts, such as the mental state. However, when we're talking about conceivability, that's obviously referential to our experience. We cannot conceive of something that we have no experience on. When we're talking about conceivability, it's based upon our experience and creativity. So even though we've never actually experienced a unicorn, we can use our creativity, which is based upon our experience, to say book one, Singh's book. Within that book, there's a donkey. Book two, Trix's book. Within that book, there are multiple horns. You can use your creativity to mentally construct these things and make a unicorn. Therefore, you can conceive of a unicorn within that scenario. That's just creativity based upon experience. However, if you have not a single instance where you have experienced or even or if you have experienced a mental state without a physical state and vice versa, then it is obviously impossible for you to conceive of due to your lack of experience. It doesn't mean it's impossible overall. The same as the conceivability thesis doesn't apply here. The same as, once again, because I'm going to keep on going since y'all gave 20,000 arguments, your argument just doesn't follow. So when we're talking about conceivability, that's just a presupposition on your end. I don't believe we can imagine a mental state without a physical fact because I believe mental states are physical facts, retard. I agree that we can probably or maybe imagine a physical or parts of a physical body without the mental state and vice versa, parts of the mental state without the physical body. However, those are parts. We're not talking about the entire composite. That's what you're talking about, but that's just a presupposition which is unwarranted. And then another thing is, Sinthe said that when you're talking about things about you or something along the lines of that, you're not referring to the physical aspects or something like that. That's another presupposition. I want you to justify that experience isn't something that's physical. Go ahead and justify that qualia itself isn't something that's physical. There's no argument for that at all. All you keep on doing is asserting shit and then saying that, oh, I want to move on. I want to move on because I got a date with a tranny in 2 hours. Oh, blah, 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 blah. My nigga, stop trying to stall and then have me forget the arguments because that doesn't work on me, nigga, because I can actually track, unlike niggas like D1. So go, bitch.
Hey, not too
Y'all
much of
heard
my
that
nigga
shit,
D1
nigga?
now.
Dude, why'd you throw straight at D1?
Hold on. God, hold on. All right, my fault, my fault. All right, let me unmute. All right, go ahead, yo.
Yeah. Firstly, like it's really funny actually how many times in a row he like repeated, "I'm the only one who can track this. All the people watching, they're fucking idiots. They would never know how to track this argument, but I, because my huge fucking brain, can track everything." Infinity, look, that would be way less funny if you didn't fuck up tracking the argument. Here's a quote from Infinity from what he just said. Why can we conceive of us having a mental state without having a physical state? Hey, retard, I never said we could. That's the inverse of what I'm talking about, you stupid fuck. I'm talking about us conceiving of something with identical physical states, but a different mental state. Or not having a mental state. Not something that has a mental state, but no physical state. You fucking idiot. Now, D1 also, or sorry, not D1, same, different retards, same dumb arguments, right? Infinity also said, go ahead and justify the quality isn't physical. There's no argument for that. Hey, dummy, the entire argument we've been talking about the entire time has been a justification if a qualia is or isn't physical. We're currently talking about Chalmers' P-zombie argument. The conclusion of the argument is that physicalism is false. That would mean that quality is not physical. You stupid fuck. So once again, he does this stupid thing where he thinks that definitions have correspondence to reality. Like, that's not how definitions work, dog. They're just term substitutions. All it means to say something like a P-zombie is defined as such and such is just that it's the case, right, that you can substitute in the words P-zombie for this longer string of words. It doesn't have any contribution to reality or what does or doesn't exist, right? It's just another way you can say a longer phrase using a shorter phrase. That's how a definition works. You're really fucking stupid. None of your arguments were very good. And instead of actually responding to the arguments we forwarded, you just ignored each and every single fucking one of them, said, that argument's so ass, laughed over and over again, fumbled through all of your words, and gave no real counter argument. So I'm going to forward the argument again. Hopefully this time you'll try your fucking best to refute it, right? Obviously you're granting P1 now, because you got bodied on P1. Now you're disputing P2, that they are possible. Now look, disputing P2 by just saying, if physicalism's true, then P2 is false, that's just what's called begging the question for your fucking view. Now I'm going to go ahead and illustrate what a P-zombie is again, and all the audience members can think, can I imagine that thing? Does it entail a contradiction to imagine that thing? And if the answer to that question is no, then that means that P-zombies are possible. Doesn't mean that they exist, right? There could be none of them in existence, but they would still be possible. So here's the illustration, right? Just for anybody who wants to listen. So the illustration is just like, imagine in your mind's eye, right, something with all the same physical facts. We use all the means of physics to understand what that thing is, right? We evaluate everything about that, and it turns out they have the same physical facts. But imagine that thing doesn't have any experiences. Same physical facts as you, no experiences. Can you imagine what it would be like to, or not can you imagine what it would be, obviously you can't imagine what it would be like, but can you imagine that thing existing, right? Can you imagine that thing in your mind? A thing with all the same physical facts as you, but different mental facts. And if the answer to that question is yes, that means mental facts, when you say something like a mind, you're not talking about some fact about the brain. Now, obviously, our views on physics and the progress of that has happened slowly over time, but we've had notions of beliefs before anybody ever understood what goes on inside the brain. We had like different language in Proto-Indo-European. Nobody understood what the fuck the brain does. The beliefs were part of that, and those people still had words that meant the same thing as a belief. Those words that they had for that obviously mean the same thing as belief does. There might be some changes to how we've used those words, but the definition of belief is not about the brain. If you didn't know that brains exist, you would still have access to your beliefs, even though you have no idea what the fuck a brain is. Obviously, you in particular have no fucking brain because you were born retarded, which is why you can't respond to any of these standard fucking philosophical arguments. What I would recommend you do after this, Infinity, is after you get your ass kicked here, you understand in the back of your own fucking mind that you did really fucking poorly, open up a new tab, type in Chalmers P-zombie argument, and then try your best to understand that argument so that next time you come into a debate on physicalism versus dualism versus idealism and other philosophy of mind topics, you don't embarrass the fuck out of yourself, making quite possibly the worst arguments I've ever fucking heard. Now, there's this idea in defining physicalism, right, called Hempel's dilemma, right? And I'm just throwing this out there because it's kind of funny that Infinity can't respond to any of the other arguments, and so I'll throw another one on the table just to be a dick, right? So Hempel's dilemma is the idea that like, when you define what physical is, right, you're going to be like going down two horns, right? Either you define it based on ideal physics, or you define it based on the current physics. If you define it based on the current physics, then obviously it's the case that the current physics could not know about something's existence, and yet that thing could still exist. So that can't be the correct definition. If you do it based on ideal physics, then you have to define then what is the ideal physics. And if you just define the ideal physics as just the study of all which exists, then you've got a problem on your hands, which is obviously nobody's going to reject that the study of all that exists would study all the things that exist, including the mental stuff. But you saying this is the case, the mental stuff all supervenes the physical, that's a big fucking issue for your view. If it's the case that all you mean by physical is existing, because then you're just not forwarding a thesis independent of the thesis the non-physicalists forward. You're actually just not even denying their view. You're conceding the view to them. But Apollo, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, definitely. So like he didn't even respond to the points I made regarding the modal logic stuff. So like he tries to like basically lie his way out of this by saying that what I said was logical modality is an extension of like classical logic. No, that was not what he said. The fucking autistic retard. What he said specifically verbatim was that modal logic is an extension of classical logic. Right? That is not true. Modal logic is the study of possibilities and necessities. You can have different accounts of modality. You can have different accounts of possibilities and necessities. Like, for example, you can have metaphysical possibilities which do not presuppose the laws of logic. You can have some different types of modality, like, for example, nomological modality or modality based on practicality and so forth, or physicality, which does not presuppose classical logic. Right, so that is not true. So now you're trying to like basically switch up the claim you made before because you realize you look like really autistic when it pointed out and exposed your ignorance in the topic a while ago. Now you said you were going to respond to my argument, which was clarifying Sin's argument and was supporting my position on the physicalism stuff. But then they gave like the shittiest non sequitur of all time, right? So to repeat the argument one more time, right? All it means for A to be identical to B is that all that's true of A is true of B, right? If there's something which is true of A which is not true of B, then that means there's something which distinguishes A from B, and that means they're distinct in nature, right? That's all it means, right? So that means that if I was to point out something which is true of mental facts, which is not true of physical facts and vice versa, then that would mean that it is necessarily true that they're not identical. I pointed out the thing which would be true of mental facts, which would not be true of physical facts.
Yeah.
So for any mental fact X, it is going to be the case that if X exists, then it is a mental fact. So for any mental fact X, it is a mental fact. In every world where X exists, X exists. That's obviously follows. If you deny this, then that's going to mean that there's a contradiction entailed from denying X equals X.
I want to ask you when you're done.
But it is not the case that for any X that exists, Y exists, and Y being a physical fact. It is logically possible that you have a mental fact that exists without a physical fact existing. It is logically possible for pain, sensation, quality to exist independently of C5 stimulation. So that's going to contradict the identity thesis that the physicalist that you are, by the way, would have to be presupposing to for the position that you're actually adopting here. So either you're going to want to say that there's a contradiction entailed from physical facts existing independently, or sorry, mental facts existing independently of physical facts, right? You're going to either want to say this, right, which you'd have to then demonstrate the logical contradiction, which you cannot demonstrate because if we investigate the concepts of physical stuff and mental stuff respectively, the concept of mental stuff does not rule out the concept of physical stuff and vice versa. In principle, the concept of physical stuff and mental stuff do not rule out each other, right? So that's just obviously false to make the claim that logical contradiction would be entailed from that, because you'd have to give an argument for why the concept of mental facts rule out the concept of physical facts and vice versa. All right, yeah, basically.
All right, I've got one thing I want to ask
So
first.
you cannot demonstrate the logical contradiction.
done.
There's no
Go ahead.
logical contradiction in such. So it is logically possible for there to be like pain sensation independently of any physical fact or any like physical brain stuff existing. So that means they're not identical because there's something which is true of mental stuff which is not true of physical stuff. So it just necessarily follows. And Sinthe, I don't even know why you even gave the Hambo's dilemma and can't even track a basic argument like this.
I
Like,
know.
this is just like an overkill at this
It's
point.
cruelty, right?
Like,
That's
this
the
is
point.
retarded.
Well, look, I want to add one
Yeah.
more thing, right? Just so that we can like lead off with like, actually, here's a proposal, right? So sync, right? For the last like 3 minutes of this discussion here, is it cool if just everyone stays unmuted for a bit? Just let it be a shit show.
Yeah.
For 3 minutes?
Okay, yeah,
okay.
hell yeah.
Because I've got a question I want to ask Infinity, and I want to press these motherfuckers on this. Look,
Oh,
was P
no,
went
no,
false?
everyone
Was
is
P
muted.
went
Sink,
false?
stop being retarded. Stop
Blah,
being retarded.
blah,
Why would
blah,
you let
nah,
them?
nah, blah,
Sink,
Why would you
sink,
let them give
sink,
entire
sink.
arguments and then change the moderation when it's
Okay,
arguments?
no, you're right. No, you're right. No, you're right. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Swear
That's
to
fair. Okay,
God,
go
I
ahead.
swear to God.
Hey, thank you. So one, in response to Apollo's Jamaican ass, one, a lack of demonstration for contradiction does not mean that there is no contradiction. Secondly, maybe you can't track, but people in chat can. So I'm going to ask Dark and Snail. Did I not say that you can use the context to infer? I was obviously referring to logical modality. I did not say what Apollo said I said, which was I make the claim that you can infer off of the context that by modality, I'm referring to a logical sense, a logical modal conversation. Did I not say that, Sync?
No, you did say that.
Yeah,
Thank you. Basic shit. In response to the physical stuff, you can have names. However, the reference themselves are what we're talking about being identical. So they're being distinct names are not the same thing as the reference not having identical properties. You have, for example, a chair. It has 1 seat and 4 legs. You have another chair, 1 feet, 4 legs. However, the names can be a chair and a skadoodle bob. My nigga, those are different names. However, the reference are still identical with themselves. So when you say mental state, you're still referring to some physical phenomenon or physical fact. However, that is just another name. Mental state identical with mental state. However, a physical fact is something you predicate on something. It's a predicate of something. So, for example, if I run, it's a fact that I run. That is physical because that running is a physical phenomenon. The same as a mental state can be a physical phenomenon. Therefore, it's factually the case, physically speaking, that a mental state is there, but the mental state can be identical with a mental state, the same as it will also be identical with a physical state because there's no distinction. So you have one, which is identical with one. However, there's a fact there that one is identical with one. The fact is not the same thing as the identification of one. However, it's just a fact that one is equal to one. Those are distinct meanings, retard. For the definition point, you were saying and using a definition to describe what's supposedly within reality. And currently, you're talking about conditional. If P zombies are possible, then physicalism is something that is necessarily false. P zombies are possible, therefore, physicalism is necessarily false. I'm saying that your presupposition for P zombies is the fact that they are states in which is physical but non-identical when it comes to the mental states. I'm saying that obviously if that conditional was true, then the conclusion of physicalism following is something that would be there. However, I'm asking you for the argument as to why P-zombies are possible in the first place. You gave this shitty conceivability argument, which you failed to track my response to, by the way. I never said at all X wouldn't tell Y. I said X wouldn't tell Y, and vice versa. So even when you're talking about the conceivability thesis or response that I gave, I literally mentioned both ends, dumbass, just for clarity's sake. So I'll say this again. If it is the case, hold on, if it is the case that you conceive of you having a mental state without you having a physical state and vice versa, that's just due to your experience. And I would believe that was just parts. You making a comment you can conceive of that is just a presupposition. I do not believe that unless you presuppose the mental state being something that's separate from the physical state, unless you presuppose that, there is no reason as to why you can conceive of that. So when you're conceiving of, for example, a mental state being non-correlative to a physical state, that is only possible under the presupposition that they are non-correlative. So if you say everything is physical and you're imagining everything physical, necessarily, if a mental state is physical, you would have to imagine a mental state inclusive of those physical phenomena that you're imagining. However, if a mental state is something non-physical, then it wouldn't follow that necessarily. You would have to imagine a mental state if you're imagining everything physical. But what is the point of contention currently? The point of contention is whether or not a mental state is physical or non-physical. So you saying that you can imagine this thing as a presupposition, you asking chat if they can imagine it. I don't care if your dick riders, like for example, that Lusario dude that I already beat low diff tricks, can vouch for that tricks. Can you vouch?
Yeah, no, that guy's been saying a lot of retarded shit.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that validation right there. So that Lusario dude who's vouching for you that I beat low diff, in comparison to the 20,000 other people who are saying that I'm blowing your back out currently, I don't give a fuck about that Lusario bitch ass, ugly ass, dumb ass, D1 looking ass nigga. The fuck? In response to the other fucking arguments. All I'm saying is that physical facts have a physical dependency, the same as whatever you're talking about has a physical dependency. Not that a physical fact is identical with the physical referent. A physical fact is something that is supposed to be referential to the entity or referent that we're talking about. That's not the same thing as being identical. So referential is not the same thing as being identical. It's correlative, not identical.
Could we?
I'm not done, by the way. I don't.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I just thought it was funny that
you can say something else, but one more thing. I don't give a fuck about your shitty ass, dumb ass dilemma, bitch ass nigga. On docs, nigga, we already represented what we mean by physicalism, my nigga. Everything is physical. Everything is comprised of matter, my nigga. If it's comprised of matter, that means it's physical, bitch ass nigga. On the docs, nigga. So like I said, your shitty ass Descartes, Aristotle ass, ugly ass fucking dilemma, nigga. Fuck that shit, nigga. We throwing that out the trash can, bitch ass nigga. We already defined what we mean. If you don't care about the definition, that's you. And I did not drop my objection towards the first primacy. I didn't even object it. I questioned it. We already moved on from that because I believe that conclusively you got beat the fuck out, you stupid bitch. So go ahead, Akeno.
Yeah, I just, I mean, I think you already said what I was going to say for some parts. Like, one, they didn't attack a lot of things. I mean, I already asked them for clarity. They've yet to really clarify. I don't know.
Everybody spam on the docs, nigga.
I don't know if it's like an attention problem or like something like that. I don't know. Maybe they have a low attention span. I'm just waiting for an answer or response to these questions. And then maybe because I obviously do have a rejection for the premises. I'd like to well, I mean, I've already said it, Sinthe. I think you know what questions I'm talking about and what I've clarified so far. That's why I said you have an attention problem, but that's fine. Anyways, I'd like to just move on if it's even possible, because we've been on the same like few points. Yeah, I mean that's really it.
Yeah, and I would like to just clarify one more time for the retards here. Every single thing has distinct parts. Like, for example, you can have cotton, and you can also have iron. Those are the same things. However, they are both physical. Therefore, they can go through physical phenomenon. The physical phenomenon part is something that is a predicate of the property itself. It is a predicate. They have the property of being physical. That is just one predicate they have. Everything that they have has a predicate of being physical, but that is just a correlative thing, not an identifying thing. As in, it is non-identical, or as in, you have, for example, a chair. The chair is identical with a chair. However, the chair itself is physical. It's correlated to a physical fact. That's what this. That's just what I want to clarify. So yeah, we could conclude.
Also, wasn't Sinthe supposed to leave like a
Yeah,
week
I
ago
know.
because
He
the
just lied.
girl?
He just lied to run away.
I
He
mean,
just
it's
lied.
fine. Like it's fine. Like I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind either.
I was just wondering.
You done? Look, I
I
mean,
think
if
we
you guys
stopped
think I'm
talking.
lying about that, I can
Yeah,
drag
is
my
it the
roommate
other-
in from upstairs.
No,
and have
no
her
one.
eat her.
I never.
That's
Wait, hold on. I never
That's
said
funny
you
as
were
fuck.
lying.
Yeah, why are they still speaking? Why are they still speaking? Why are they still speaking?
Because
yeah,
he asked
so
us the question,
just be like,
retard.
No, that was
yeah, but
funny
so why are
as
you still
fuck.
speaking? Just
Just
shut
Because a
up,
quick
question
retard.
shot.
was
So anyways,
asked. A
just be
question
like,
was asked.
Look,
Zen,
mute the retard so
Zen,
we
do
can
your
respond
job.
real quick.
Do your job.
Mute the
Do your
retard.
job.
Think isn't even in
Okay.
here.
Thank you. Look, there we go.
He's not.
Look,
I'm not even paying attention to my screen, but he's supposed to be in here. At least he's the moderator. But I don't know why they're still like speaking. Are they
yeah,
muted?
look, there's something I wanted to say. I just thought this was so fucking funny. Look, Infinity said
Yeah.
that, look, we've already given what physicalism is. And then he said a definition that never came up before. And the reason why we know it
Yeah.
never came up before is because it's so fucking hilariously bad.
Oh.
I will never
Composed
let
of
this
matter.
down. This is like actually a full this is like actually like constitutes like
Wait,
borderline a full
before you
fucking
before you
conception.
dunk it,
You go first,
wait, hold on. Just to be really clear on this, like if he's just saying by physical, he just means matter. That's like a materialist
Yes.
position, not even a physicalist position.
I know it's an
Just to be
1800s
like really
type
clear
position.
that.
I'm gonna say the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, wait, so yeah. But before you dunk on the materialist position that he now adopts, he basically concedes physicalism because, like, under his view of like what physical stuff, that's not even physicalism, that's fucking materialism. But before you dunk on that part, I just want to make it pretty clear that he did not even respond to the point I made regarding how it's entailed from what Leibnizian law of identity is, that they would not be identical. And he tries to give an example, the chair example, like two chairs which are different but composed of like similar parts. Like, you fucking retard. That's an example of taxonomy. So that they're under the same taxonomy or classification. They're not the same thing, obviously. So you pointing out this example is not actually pointing out a reason against the evidence that we have for why physicalism is false. Now you asked why there's a logical contradiction and such. I've already responded to this, right? The justification for why there's not a logical contradiction is going to be based on our conceptual analysis. So we look at we look at the definition of consciousness. We look at the definition of physical stuff. Consciousness does not. The definition of consciousness or conceptual analysis of consciousness does not specifically say that, and it also has to be physical. So that means it allows for it to exist without physical stuff. The concept of consciousness does not rule out physical stuff existent. Does not rule out the possibility of it existing independently of physical stuff. So let me give like a pretty simple example that's hopefully your tonal IQ should be able to grasp properly. So like, let's say bachelor. So the word bachelor means unmarried man, right? So given that definition and concept of a bachelor, it's possible, it's logically possible to have an obese bachelor, because within the concept of bachelor, our definition of bachelor, it does not specifically rule out obesity. It allows for obesity to exist because the definition itself does not specifically say, and someone who's not fat, right? So the concept not ruling out obesity allows for the logical possibility of there to be a bachelor which has the property of obesity. Likewise, the concept of consciousness, right? It does not specifically rule out the possibility of it existing independently of physical stuff. So therefore, just like the bachelor example, is it is logically possible for there to be fat bachelors. And if you disagree with this, then that's going to just like further prove that you're even more fucking retarded. The same logic applies in the consciousness case. It is also logically possible for consciousness to actually be something which is not physical, right? Or something to exist without physical stuff. So therefore, to obviously falsify the physicalist position or the identitarian position that you guys are claiming. Pretty obvious stuff. I don't think there's any more points I need to respond to, really. Like, all of the point, like, you just made like a long shopping list of garbage points. Oh yeah, you're supposed to respond to the materialism point. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. Look, so Infinity is confused for two reasons. One, this is a Phil of mind debate, right? What he just posited is like a substance doc position, and also it's one that died out in 1850. Okay, so like, everything is comprised of matter. Really? That's what you're gonna argue? Are gluons comprised of matter, you fucking retard? Are photons comprised of matter? Are gravitons comprised of matter? Matter means a thing that has mass. There are fundamental
Fucking
particles that
physics
don't have
contradicts
mass.
this notion. Like, he's fucking
I
retarded.
know. I know that like this is look, a lot of you guys are Infinity's friends. You like the guy. But you gotta tell it to him straight on this one, right? The idea that shut up, bitch. The idea that shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch.
Oh my
The idea that Infinity
God.
is
Oh my God,
not
shut up,
forwarding the
retard.
most retarded thesis of all time by saying everything is comprised of matter. That's so embarrassing, Infinity. I enjoy bitching people in front of their friends, but there's a degree where it becomes cruel. What you should do right now is type into Google, I don't know, examples of particles with no mass, and you'll find some. Right? Photons, gravitons, gluons, so on and so on, right? All these things don't have mass, which means they're not matter, because matter are the things with mass, you fucking idiot. There are plenty of massless
Watch how he's gonna
particles.
define matter as like he's gonna like define matter in the proprietary sense, which allows for things to be material without mass. Just watch.
And the way he's gonna want to dig himself out of this by redefining what matter means, to use like a proprietary, non-standard in physics definition, is just that matter's the stuff that exists. Which, yeah, no shit, you fucking retard. We agree that everything that exists is made of things that exist. You stupid fuck. Yeah, everything that exists. You're not forwarding anything interesting there. Matter, by the way, just means a thing with mass in normal standard fucking physics. There are plenty of things that don't have that. You are dead fucking wrong. Also, I asked the question to you earlier, but Infinity dodged it, so I'll remind the room. I asked him, was P1 false? That's how it began. He didn't answer that question. The reason he doesn't want to answer that question is because he actually granted P1 is true several times in a row after hardcore denying it's true. That was really stupid.
Yeah.
Now I have a new question for you, Infinity. You can drop that one. You can ignore it if you want. The question is just, is everything comprised of matter? That's it. They said they wanted to close,
Wait,
by the way. I
just
still
to be
want
like
that
really,
fucking 3 minutes of pressing this retard. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Apollo.
wait, by the way, just to be like really clear before like Infinity gives his response, right? I'm just gonna like run over the argument one more time, right? And then can re-ask the question so that Infinity does not forget, by the way, and then he gives his response. He can like even go for 5 minutes straight, just jibber jabbering completely. So the argument is again simply the P-zombie argument demonstrates that it is possible for for there to be the same physical facts without there being mental facts. So obviously there's going to be something which is true of physical facts, which is not true of mental facts, and that is what is true of mental facts is that for any mental fact X, there has to be a mental fact X, because mental facts are mental facts. You can't have a mental fact in a world, and in that world, there's no mental facts. That's a contradiction. But we have a case where it is possible that you can have physical facts without mental facts. So unlike the mental facts case, where you know that it is logically impossible for mental facts to exist without mental facts existing or without themselves existing, values LOI, it is logically possible for there to be physical facts existing without the mental facts existing. So obviously it's going to be the case that it is not the case that they supervene on one another, or physical facts or some mental facts supervene on physical facts. It is also not the case that physical facts will be identical to mental facts, because both an identity claim and a supervenience claim is going to entail a modal necessitation relation, and the modal necessitation relation that you guys' position presupposes is contradicted by the logical possibility of there being the same physical facts, right, within a person's body existent in some world X, without there being any mental fact that this person's body is possessive of, which is why we call this person P-zombie. So that's going to be a distinction feature. That's going to be a proposition which is true of mental facts, which is not true of physical facts, and vice versa. And obviously, if that's the case, then it follows from Leibniz and law of identity that it is not the case that they'll be identical in nature. Therefore, they're not identical. And we understand non-physical stuff to be like our understanding of non-physical stuff is in virtue of what is physical. So for anything which is physical and non-physical stuff is just not that. So if we establish that the mental facts obviously cannot be the physical facts, then in virtue of how we conceive or understand non-physical stuff, given the fact that in virtue of the physical fact not being identical to the non-physical, or not being identical to the mental fact, it's going to be something which entails that non-physical facts would be what the mental facts would be identical to. Now, Sinthe can re-ask the question one more time, and then he can give his response.
I'll even
Oh
rephrase the
my
question to make it a little simpler, right? Just yes or no, are gluons comprised of matter? Please begin your answer with a yes or no, and don't be a bitch.
Okay, can Infinity? Okay, I'm gonna mute you. I'm gonna mute you guys.
Mute us,
I'm
yeah.
gonna let Infinity respond after like this 10 minutes.
Answer the question. Shut up, bitch. Answer the question, Infinity.
Don't mute me. I'm the moderator, and no one's gonna stop me. Let me unmute Infinity real quick.
Yo,
Go
I
ahead,
ain't gonna
Infinity.
lie, my nigga. Fuck Einstein, nigga. Fuck those scientists, nigga. Fuck those physicists, nigga. Fuck photons, nigga. Fuck all
Alright,
that
can
shit,
we
nigga. On the docks, my
keep on
nigga.
track?
I
Can we
don't
keep
give
on
a
track?
fuck
Can we keep on
about those
track?
theories. Hold on, Blake. I don't give a fuck about those theories that say that there's things without mass and matter, blah, 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 nigga. Shut the fuck up, bitch ass nigga. I'm just gonna say those are theories. I don't posit those fucking theories, hoe ass nigga. Fuck is you talk about, my nigga? Anyways, so one, I actually came into this topic, which Akeno can agree with. I said, I don't care about your definition of physicalism. By the way, this is before You were here, Apollo. This is when you were running away in some fucking random vegan server debating someone instead of debating us because you were scared for some reason. Akeno can vouch. He literally said, "Are we defending physicalism?" We said, "No." Akeno, correct?
Yeah, that is true. We even
Yes,
we
that's why I've been
even
using.
clarified this.
Yes, that's why I've been using physicalism in a sense where it's my own worldview. It's my own definition. Sinthe should already know this, but obviously he's being dishonest. I would like to also ask another vouch. Kage, were you there? Please come up. Can someone bring Kage up real quick? Tricks, bring up Kage. Since this dude wants to fucking rack, my nigga.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Or he's right there.
Yeah, Kage.
Yes, Daddy, I'm here.
Yes, did we not clarify that we're not defending
Nobody
physicalism?
said photons don't exist.
Wait, yeah, Akano, you can respond to that. But Kage, did we not literally clarify that we're not defending physicalism under his view?
Yeah, you clarified that like way earlier.
Thank you. So
No, we
yes,
didn't.
thank you. Yes.
Sinthe, shut your bitch ass up, you
let me
Yo,
other.
chill,
respond to that, bro.
Kage. Stop.
Yeah. So under my view of
Anyways, he
physicalism,
said,
wait, hold on. I'm just
yeah,
synonymously defining it with materialism. So you bringing up that point doesn't matter. The identity point is something you're assuming once again. So I don't need to respond to that, even though I already did. That law of identity, you saying that there's a dependency or there can be an independent mental state from a physical state of affairs. There's a presupposition that's you assuming your position, which that mental states are something that's immaterialistically independent of materialistic things. That's a presupposition. What is the topic of conversation? Whether or not the mental state that we have is non-physical. What is the argument you just gave? Well, it is possible that we can conceive of where there's a mental state that is separate from all physical state of affairs.
oh my
And
god.
if it is necessarily true that you have a possible contradiction towards your point, it would not follow that your point is necessarily the case. That's obviously a presupposition because you're assuming that there's a possibility where this mental state is independent of a physical state of affairs. That's already put in the question, retard, my nigga. Anyways, your conceptual analysis is obviously epistemically limited, so I don't care about your conceptual analysis for it to be a contradiction. So seemingly, as in epistemically, what you have access to now, it might point towards a non-contradiction. However, overall, it might be a contradiction within reality that you are too retarded to fucking think of, my nigga. You're so fucking retarded that you think these arguments actually work. So I also think it's reasonable to say your assessment on whether or not it's actually contradictory or not can also be retarded, you stupid bitch. Fuck did you talk about, nigga? Anyways, in response to the other argument, you saying it doesn't rule out the possibility is presupposing a possible independency. I don't care about that. And then your analogy also doesn't connect because when you're asserting all bachelors are X, you're saying all bachelors. There's no specification of what the bachelors are. There's no presupposition of what the bachelors are other than bachelors being identical with bachelors. So when we're talking about everything that exists is physical, there's a specification that being existence always has the predicate of physicalism. It is always physical if there's existence. Everything that is physical or everything that exists is physical that means the existence universally has the predicate of being physical. While with your bachelor analogy, there's no specification towards the predicates that the bachelor holds other than it being an unmarried man, retard. Therefore, that analogy is disanalogous as fuck, you shitty bitch.
All right, bet. So
Hold on. I'm not done. I never
They
denied
got to
premise.
speak for a while.
I never denied premise one. I questioned premise one, and then we moved on to the other premise because I don't believe you answered the question adequately, retard. Please keep up, my nigga. Apollo was being a fucking background character while not even be able to keep up with the fucking arguments that Sinthe, his shitty ass Timu McDonald's worker, was giving. What the fuck were you doing, nigga? Beating your fucking beat to our voices, retard. If you weren't tracking or keeping up, what the fuck were you doing, bitch? The fuck?
Okay.
all right, so I just want to ask a question.
Is that over?
Go.
Is it over?
Go ahead, Akeno.
I mean, they made pretty funny. Yo, shut the fuck up. They made like, I guess, like pretty funny claims. Like especially the physics one. I just honestly, even their statements were pretty wrong. Like I don't really give a fuck. Even in the way that we're trying to define physicalism. I genuinely don't think that they were tracking. Could we just conclude, please? Like I'm begging.
Do you need to wait?
Like,
That's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask to conclude.
Wait, hold on, Akeno. Do you need to respond to the photons point? Do you have anything to add to that?
No, like it doesn't matter because it's not at all how we're interpreting physicalism or mass or matter.
Okay, thank you. And then also, just to clarify something, maybe everybody who created Oxford Dictionary and all these denotative definitions are delusional or something. But look at chat. I'm pretty sure that says matter is a physical substance in general. So everything that has matter or is comprised of matter is comprised of a physical substance, my nigga.
And besides, like photons have zero rest mass, gluons give mass because of like some weird fucking mechanism or whatever the fuck. I had to search that shit up. I don't even know what the fuck was like until now. It's not even fucking relevant. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, so it's just all
Just
theoretical, no
continue.
toxic, my nigga. All theoretical, no toxic. Shout out to
Like,
toxic. Any?
yeah,
Yeah.
and regardless, Sinthe said that he denied photons or something existing. No, he didn't. He said that he didn't give a fuck about the theories that they were given. And he would rather have
Thank
some
you.
sort of justification outside of that, or some justifier for the theory existing or being
Yeah,
true
yeah, yeah. And let's
some-
say okay,
some
hold on.
reason.
Let's say this theory was seemingly super warranted. That's just you saying seemingly it is the case that there is a lack of matter. However, in actuality, due to our epistemic axis having a limitation, it might be the case that there is actual matter within photons. However, seemingly there just isn't. If I were to accept that it is seemingly super warranted, which I don't even accept that. But yeah, we can move on, conclude. My nigga lit, please, please, please,
Or
please, please.
okay. Here's the thing.
No, let them
I wanna push
respond.
conclusion based on
Wait,
tomorrow.
hold on.
Bro, if
Yeah, I
they
was gonna say
respond,
something.
it's gonna
I was
keep on
gonna say
going. Oh my god,
okay,
this nigga
hold
say he has to
on.
do
That's
20
what I'm
minutes.
gonna establish. Please let me establish. I was just saying, yeah, we can push conclusions. However, right here's the thing. I'm gonna let them have a chance to speak. However, if they go complete circle or circle, I don't know, I'm saying stuttering, but we can push the
Circular.
conclusion on that one. Shit.
Bro,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll go
nigga,
after that.
okay, if they give a new argument, obviously we're gonna want to
Fast.
respond.
Could they just give a response to the arguments without giving a new argument, and then like, since Sinthe has to go, we can either postpone this for like tomorrow maybe.
Yeah, we can postpone, bro.
I'll like pitch in this time because I'd rather have Infinity control the flow of this topic, specifically because he started it off. I didn't want to contradict anything he'd say. Now that I actually have the point down. Like, obviously I did during the debate, but I'd just rather him respond to like
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
major
Also, just to
things. I
clarify,
did pitch in and give clarity, so I mean, I guess that's fine. I'll just give more substance to the arguments.
yeah. So just to clarify, we're not concluding if they give a new response, and then to mimic what they did, Sesame 1, Sesame 2, Sesame 3, Sesame 4, Sesame 5, Sesame 6, Sesame 7, Sesame 8,
Alright, I
7.
think we get it.
I
Infinity.
got.
Alright, I'm just gonna mute you guys. I'm gonna mute them. If they go
That's
and bring a
fine.
whole new response, then shit. Oh, here we go with this shit.
Yeah, I don't want to bring up a new response. In fact, I kind of just want to like point out once again they haven't answered the question. And it's really like,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Look, they haven't answered the
Yeah,
question. So once again, another one of the many fucking questions we've asked. They haven't answered. They haven't answered like any of the questions we've asked because each and every single one was an obvious problem with review. Now, I just want to point out Infinity's response of, "Oh, I don't give a fuck about photons or gluons. I don't give a fuck about those scientific theories." Is like the lowest IQ possible response you can give. If you want, I can spam you a bunch of fucking studies on photon detection or something. Obviously, photons exist. Now, look, in order to keep this from going on too long, right, and like let us get to conclusion, I really wanted to be like, I know that they're like never gonna answer a question if we do the stupid taking turns nonsense server mute thing. So instead, I say like you can even like just make it a one-on-one, or we can just unserver mute everyone and just let me press them on the question, yes or no, do photons exist and are they made of matter?
And I just thought that yeah, so I'm gonna add something else. So he was trying to say that he was not they're like not defending physicalism. Like we know they're just copying out because they don't have any substance, they don't have any arguments. That's why Akeno is on the sidelines. Really, he has no arguments. He just relies on Infinity. So hopefully, grab the debate out with his like nonsensical jibber jab, which is fine by the way. That's expected of D tiers. But just to be really clear in this, you specifically try to respond to her arguments by saying that, oh, I'm not defending physicalism. Well, let's just say you guys are not defending the physicalism is sure, right? Our explanation and arguments it does not hinge on the idea that you guys are defending this position. It just specifically contradicts the position and entails that our position is sure. So that's completely irrelevant to the arguments, the set of arguments that we presented on the table, which has indubitably demonstrated that physicalism would be actually false, which
Hold on,
is basically what their position is.
I don't want to go on too long because if we do, they're gonna be like, no, too many arguments. So can we just like unserver mute everyone and let us press them on the question lit?
Wait, there's one. But he said, wait.
My bad.
Wait, yeah. So when I'm gonna make like some responses, like what they're saying, it's so coincidental that's when the moderator is like willing to do that shit. But anyways, let me just finish real quickly because he said that the bachelor case was disanalogous because the bachelor lacks specification, that the concept or definition of bachelor lacks a particular specification, which disallows it from, or disallows a bachelor from being a beast. Wait, don't speak over me. Don't speak over me. When Infinity was speaking, you were not speaking over him. Shut the fuck up.
No, wait. I need to clarify something.
I don't give a fuck.
Is this gonna be a new argument? Is it gonna
I
be
don't care. I don't care.
No,
I'm not
new
debating.
If it's a new
You
argument,
never
then
said the same thing to
me and
Infinity
Theory
when
not
he
gonna
went on
respond to
speaking
the
or when Akeno was speaking. You're trying to basically finish the debate as
hold
quick as you can.
up. Let me calm down real quick. All right, I'm not trying to perma abuse or anything, but we already like agreed upon. Well, not you guys, but me and Infinity Akeno said that if you guys want to make a new point, then the arguments is gonna go
but nobody
circular
agreed
and
on
we're not
using the
gonna get anywhere.
moderator.
So that's just
You're
wanted
just
to
a
establish
rando who
that
jumped in.
Random. I may be being random, but
No offense,
that's
right?
what
It's not
you're
like
not doing.
I'm not attacking you for being random. I'm just telling you you're not sync, right? The person we agreed to. So
yeah, that's fine.
They
That's
should
fine. Because Sync
unmute.
left
Look,
and does some random shit.
yeah, that's whatever, right? Look, just let Apollo finish out with like Apollo saying there, and hopefully like we can get done with that fast enough so that like we can just like open the floor so that I can actually press them on the question because they're never gonna answer otherwise. The question, by the way, just to remind everyone, is do photons exist and are they made of matter?
No, the thing is that like
Oh,
yeah,
left.
we can like
But he's
unmute them
gone?
or
What?
where did
Why is he so
Infinity go?
scared?
Alright, bro, where did bro go?
I think he got scared and left. But just unmute Akeno or something. You can like Akeno can answer the question. And I unmute Apollo as well or something. I mean, honestly, if you feel like it's unfair to have, just one of us can stay unmuted, and I'll let Apollo like press the question.
Yeah, you know, almost always mute you. I was like, I'm letting them go.
Just unserve Akeno or something. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Right there.
Okay, I mean, first
Hello?
of all, oh my god, great, he's unmuted.
Wait, so hold on.
yo.
Why was I muted midpoint? I was making an
Because you were
argument
making a
against
whole
what
new
Infinity was
argument,
saying and I was muted?
And
Yeah, I was not
whatever
finished.
Apollo was talking
Infinity made a
clean
bunch of
argument.
points I needed to respond to. And you muted me
because Infinity
mid-speech.
was talking
Let's make
about the
Akeno speak.
substance of the debate. Please fucking track, mute him, lit. Please,
What are you talking
mute him.
about?
Please mute him. Jesus fuck, bro. This guy doesn't shut the fuck up, bro. I'm actually fed up with this nigga, bro. All the time I just hear this Jamaican jibber jabber, bro. All I have to say, and unmute Infinity because he needs to speak as well. And Infinity wanted to obviously it's oh yeah, let Infinity respond to this, whatever, right? Whatever the fuck he was trying to talk about. Yeah, for one, nobody claimed that photons don't fucking exist. We literally said that your theory is fucking baseless. You want to bring up some sort of but Einstein said this, that. Oh, answer the question, retard. I don't give a fuck, nigga. Literally nobody claimed that photons don't exist. And two, I just like to say, what's it called? Oh, I'm riding on Infinity. Dude, did you not hear how many times do I have to fucking clarify that I'm trying to go with the flow of the debate so I don't contradict Infinity's points? Oh, you don't have a clue. Wait, you don't have a clue for anything. Shut the fuck up, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck what you have to say, bro. Dead ass, nigga. I'm actually
like this nigga, bro. He thinks he's so rhetorical. Shut your ugly ass up, bitch.
I don't know why you had to include those comments. I never commented about you.
Yeah. So let me respond to Daddy James 3 real quick. So one, oh my god, you're so Apollo, Daddy James 3. Oh my, you're so retarded. My bad. One, we literally said prior to you coming in VC, since you were running away like a little bitch before, that we're not defending physicalism under his view. Obviously, our view of physicalism is going to be distinct if we're saying under his view, making that specification, retard. So if there's obviously an analytical distinction between both of our views of physicalism, that means whatever we deem physicalism to be, which is just the defense, everything within reality is physical, can be explained by physical phenomenon. Physical being everything that's comprised of matter, etc., then yes, you have to contend that is the position. If everything is physical, the mental state is inclusive of everything, it would follow that the mental state would be physical by virtue of that. So what you're saying currently does not matter. And then Sinthe, I don't care about there being multiple studies. There's multiple studies of the mind being materialistic. There's multiple studies of the mind being immaterialistic. Does that make either side true? Or does that make one side true? No, it does not. It's just pure theory, my nigga. It's pure hypothetical. And you saying it's obvious is not an argument. That's just a claim. Obviously, you deem it to be obvious because you deem yourself to be correct. But like, what the fuck?
I don't even know. Whatever,
okay, so are we done with the whole overall thing?
Yes, we're done. We're done.
Alright, fine. Over. At this point, there's no new argument that should be made, alright? That's the whole thing. That's done.
Okay, in the stage. Easy claps. Easy claps. Hey, Triggs, give me my purse back, bro.
I feel like even if I were to unmute you, Sinthe, and instead just were to go, like, proceed, but, like, I feel like this is gonna go completely circular. That's why I was saying this gonna happen.
It doesn't matter if you don't... Lit.
You Sinthe, am I muted? Can you guys hear me?
Hold on. Lit, look.
You know what's funny, Sin? No, the debate's gonna finish, but you know what's
funny?
funny? I was responding to Infinity's claim, his new claims he made in response to my argument, and in the process of doing that, they muted me for them to give a different point. Like,
that was the same
Stop. Hold on. Lit.
And you
right?
notice how they're able to speak while we're
I
speaking?
know, Apollo.
We can't do the
Because
same
the
to them.
debate is over. The
No,
debate
stop,
is over.
stop. Hold on.
Yo, wait,
So
let
you guys
Sinthe-
decide.
Stop,
Jesus,
stop. Let Sinthe speak.
Jesus,
Let
fuck.
Sinthe speak. Let
Look,
Sinthe speak.
lit, right? When you're like moderating or something, if there's like a question on the table, right, I think you should do is press the other people and answer
I
the
literally
question. If you don't do
answered
that,
the
if you
question.
can't do that, then like you
Wait,
just
you
don't
never did
moderate or
that.
something. But
Wait, I'm not speaking to you,
press
Apollo.
the
You can stay as a side
listen,
character.
listen. Don't.
I'm not
chill out.
talking to you,
Listen,
retard.
Wait, that's fine, Apollo. You can be Krillin. You can be a
Jesus,
side
fuck. Holy shit. Look,
Why is this like
Infinity.
dog like arguing
Stop.
continuously?
Holy
That's not-
shit!
That's
Holy
not funny,
shit!
Apollo. Just
Jesus, do I just have to mic spam or something to get you guys to shut
Man,
the fuck
shut
up?
your bitch ass up.
Jesus
yeah,
Christ! The
Yo,
question
yo,
was,
yo, so
shut up,
let's-
Infinity. Shut up, Akeno. Just a second. Jesus, not. I'm actually gonna be mean to Akeno.
You don't even believe
Right,
it.
you're not even
Jesus.
talking that
What
much.
are you talking about?
Look, I'm asking a very simple question, which is, do photons exist? Yes or no, Akeno?
I mean, we already
We already
told
answered
you
this.
that
Don't even
Was it
respond.
yes or no?
Don't
Yeah,
even
I said
engage.
yes.
Was
Here's
it
a
yes or
recording.
no?
Here's a
Yeah, I said
recording.
yes.
Here's a recording.
You say yes, they exist. Are they made of matter? Yes or no?
I feel like we've already answered this.
Yes or no? Are they made of matter?
Well, I feel like it's just going to be
Yes
a...
or no, are
I
they made
just
of
feel like
matter?
it's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
okay,
a
no,
just
long
answer the
time.
fucking question, retard.
I'll answer the
Oh,
question.
I feel like inventing. Oh, I feel
Conventionally,
like
no.
inventing. Answer the question,
I'll answer the
retard.
question again. I'll answer the question again. So seemingly they can be made of matter or not. However, those are just theories and studies, my nigga.
The
which
question was,
You
are they made of
answer the
matter?
question.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, please mute Apollo and Sinthe while I answer the question, since they want to keep on talking while asking multiple questions. Anyways, so the question was: are photons existent and are they made of matter? One, the answer is Akeno. We don't know if they exist in the way in which seemingly is applied to the piece of paper, retard. So I don't care about your possibly incorrect interpretation of what the scientist said. And then secondly, a possible or also an epistemic limitation on what photons are. So seemingly we don't know if they exist in the way in which you're describing them to exist or in the way in which the scientists are describing them to exist. If your interpretation of what the scientists are saying is true, which is already another presupposition. But yeah, the debate is over. Tricks, give me my perms back, please. Or please. That's the third 20th.
Yeah, no, the debate's not
100
over
million
on your response, you fucking idiot. And lit, stop server muting
What?
people when it's not their when it's not the other people's turn
What
to
do you mean
speak.
that's server
That's what I'm
muting?
Right,
saying.
Who's
Like,
look, if you
I prefer the sequence of
retards. The question was yes or no. Are they made of matter? Yes or no? Yes or no?
So why are they still
Yes or
talking?
no?
Why are they still able to talk? Why are
Yes
they
or
not
no?
muted?
Oh my
Why are they
God,
not
bro. I'm
muted?
not the
Yes or
moderator.
no?
Most biased moderator. The
Oh
most
my God,
biased
bro. Everyone can be
moderation.
quiet, bro.
The
Everyone can be
biased
quiet. Everyone be quiet. Everyone be quiet. Everyone can be quiet, bro. I don't give a shit. Okay, number one. Okay, I feel like. Okay, so he's asking the question. If Vinny and Akeno thinks they already responded to in the recording, there should be no reason for him to actually answer the question. Is this true, Vinny? Did you actually answer him? Did you
I answered
actually
the question 20,000 times, and then
answer the
secondly,
question?
Apollo. Hold on, let me
Okay,
say
no,
something
what's
else.
the point of doing this,
Apollo,
man?
hold on. Apollo asked why we're not muted. How are we gonna answer a question while we're muted? Fucking tar? Are you fucking stupid? Are you actually
Yeah,
sped?
Lit, I'd just like to say, regardless of Infinity's response, I've given them an alternate approach to this. Even the chat gave an alternate approach.
Yes. By the way, when Akeno said yes, they exist, he's just giving a hypothetical. By the way, but continue.
Yes, literally, like, I don't know where they're getting the fact that we didn't answer the question. I mean, they can think that. They can think that. So.
Yeah, they can think that. That's the claim. But hey, Tricks, give my perms back. This shit is over. These niggas are ass.
Okay,
Like, oh
I'm just gonna mute them. I want to see what happens on this, but I'm gonna mute them.
Oh God.
All right, what's happening?
Yeah. So
Alright,
so
look.
so to respond to what
Stop stuttering.
I was complaining.
Jesus, stop with the
how nobody
spazzing. You're just
stuttered,
embarrassing
retard.
yourself in
You're
Finnish.
skipping that right now. So, anyways, just to be really clear on this, right? I was specifically talking about when they were able to speak when it was my turn to speak. Before Sinthe even asked the question, right? Like, you don't look at the conversation, retard. So anyways, just to be really clear. I just want to make it clear that he was not able
Why'd
to
you drag?
respond to the
Look, the
arguments
moderators
I
might
gave
actually be
as why
retarded.
mental
They just dragged
facts
some
necessarily
rando
not
up
be
here
an
with a name,
indispensable
Sinthe.
facts. Right, he was not able to respond to that argument, and he specifically pointed out the idea that the reason as to why bachelors can be a beast, and he's panicking right now. He's scared. That's why he's trying to speak over me. This is embarrassing.
What are you talking about?
Oh no, this is
Yeah,
embarrassing.
Lit, mute Infinity, mute Akeno.
Like he's shivering
mute
right
Infinity,
now.
mute
Do
Akeno.
not mute us. Do not mute us.
Mute them.
Do not mute us.
Mute the bitches. Mute the bitches.
Apollo, you sound retarded.
Why would you mute the? Why would you mute
I want
Akeno but
to
not
over.
Infinity? He's like the less annoying one.
That's
Thank
what I'm
you.
saying. Their limbs are shivering right now. They're scared. They're intimidated. So,
All right, bro.
nobody cares. I
The
care.
debate's over. It's over. No, it ain't,
All
bitch.
I care about matters.
No, there haven't even been closing statements
So
yet. How is it
anyways,
over?
Infinity's own point about Bachelor contradicts his position because he said the reason that's why Bachelor can be a beast is because Bachelor definition lacks a
Why'd you
specification,
unmute?
which disallows a Bachelor from
No, 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 no,
The
no,
same
no, no,
logic
no, no.
applies to
Apollo
consciousness
thought.
as a fucking
Apollo
retard.
thought the demons is back. The demons is back. You shitty ass debater.
Mute the
I don't know
You
what
retard.
the fuck.
Infinity, pipe
So,
down.
anyways,
Because
just
you
to be
talk
really clear
about
that,
bitch ass
right?
nigga.
His own
Was not like
argument
that, my
as
nigga.
to why
Yap, yap, yap,
bachelors
yap,
can
yap,
be
yap,
abused
yap,
logically
yap, yap,
speaking
yap, yap.
literally
Look at how
contradicts
mad he
his
is.
position.
He
Not
still
only does it
upset.
contradict the position,
The
but it
demon is
also
back.
entails
Hey,
that our
Trace, give
position
my
is
purse back.
correct.
Hey, Trace,
And
give
they're
my
just
purse back.
coping
This
with
Hey,
just
it.
seems
Trace, give
retarded,
my
not gonna
purse
lie,
back.
because this is
Hey,
gonna go
Trace, give my
nowhere.
purse
Like,
back.
we
anyway,
already
Hey, Trace,
established
give
the
my
whole
purse
point. I
back.
don't know why y'all
Hey, Trace,
continuing
give
with
my
this.
purse back.
so
Hey,
anyways,
Trace,
Look,
we
give my
get
Lit,
purse
back to
back.
specific
you're the
Trace,
things.
give my
moderator.
purse
It's your
back.
job to
Hey, Trace,
fucking
give my
address
Fundamental
these
purse back.
facts,
points.
which
Hey,
got to
Trace,
be
give my
physical
purse
facts and
back.
vice
Hey, Trace,
versa.
give my purse
So
back.
it's pretty
Hey, Trace,
obvious
give my
that they're
purse
not
back.
actually
Hey,
at
Question,
their
Trace, give
they
my
already
core.
purse
So
back.
they're just
established.
Hey,
like
Trace,
actually
give my
disproving the
Did
purse
that shit
back.
position that
already.
physicalism
Give my
is
purse back.
true.
Trace, give my purse I give my purse back.
Okay. Anyways, is it over or is there like more?
Yes, it's over. They just keep it
We're
running.
winning,
No,
bro.
there's
They're
closing
scared.
statements. They
I
haven't
find
done
it
yet.
funny. I
They haven't
find it
answered the
funny how he said
question,
he had to
so on and
go.
so on and
Hey,
so on.
Akeno, isn't it funny how he said he had to go 20 minutes ago, but he's still here?
It's
He's
it's
trying to use
Yeah,
the
fine.
he's
It's
one
fine.
downsitting
statement
Okay.
from my
Okay.
room.
Okay.
as a
He's
Okay.
down sitting
justification
pissed
for
for
trying to
being
get
out
rid
there
of
with the
him.
retards.
He wants him to leave so
Everybody,
bad.
I
everybody
know.
stop.
I find it
Everybody
Wants
really,
to
stop.
wait
really
to
funny.
finish
Everybody
so
stop.
bad.
I find it
And
really,
you guys are
really
Apollo.
funny. I
scared.
find it really, really funny.
Infinity. Stop.
You guys are
Bro,
completely scared, bro.
bro.
This
It's
is
okay.
Wait,
It's
it's
okay.
fine, Apollo. You repeated that 20,000
This is
times.
the
You
Oh my
want to
most
god.
talk
Oh my
about
god.
dreadful,
Oh my god.
retarded
Let.
argument in
Okay.
the
fucking
physical
talk about my
I've
nigga. You
seen
look like
from
a
any
Jamaican lawyer.
opponent to
Oh
face
my
this year. This is actually
god,
really bad.
bro. Can they
Wow.
okay.
Oh my
You
god.
stupid ass
Oh my
bitch. Fuck
god.
is you
Oh my
talk about my
god.
nigga?
Oh
Look,
my
You
I've
look
got
god.
a
like Asian
proposal to get
nigga.
this back on topic. I've got a little proposal here,
Ass
right?
nigga. You
Look,
look like a
lit,
black
lit,
refrigerator, you
lit,
dumbass nigga.
lit,
Fuck is you talk
The
about my
lit.
black
Can
on
nigga?
you
the
Yo,
first
can you
topic.
lit is
retard
on
mute yourself?
deafened. Lit is on
You is
deafened.
not
D2,
like that,
whoever's
hoe ass
moderating.
nigga.
Sync, whoever the fuck
Stupid
is
ass nigga.
moderating.
Nigga,
D2,
you look like
Right?
a refrigerator on the
mute
fucking
them,
floor.
mute
Whoever's
them,
Fuck
mute them.
is you
moderating, mute
talk
the
about
Mute.
my
retard so
nigga?
I can speak to you really quick. I can
Wait,
make this shit
wait.
work.
Mute,
Nigga,
I
mute
you
just
look
want to
like
everybody
understand why
besides
is it the
Sin.
case that when they're able to
Please.
speak, we're immediately
Why is this
Just
incapable.
man
server mute the
speaking?
spastic. Just server
Why?
mute Infinity. He's the only one
Nigga
spazzing.
thought I was done, you ugly ass nigga. You
Why
look like a
can't you
Jamaican
server mute them? When
stupid ass
they're
bitch. Fuck
speaking,
is
we're
you
server
talk
muted.
about my nigga?
Why
You look
can
like
it,
a police
you
station
server
in
mute them when we're
2009, you
speaking?
dumbass nigga. Fuck is you talk about bitch ass nigga? You like trying to
Bro,
throw
This
swords
server
at
bro,
me?
mute
why did you mute Sin?
Just mute Infinity. Jesus.
Bitch
Just
ass
mute
nigga, you are
Infinity and we'll
not
be able
Okay.
to
like that, my
talk really
nigga. Fuck
fast.
you.
Just
server
let
mute
the
both
person mic
Infinity and
spamming.
Akeno.
Bro.
No, Akeno's not even mic
Pretty
spamming. Right? There's no
simple.
point in that. Hold on. There's no point in that, right? Just only the person
Just to
mic
be
spamming
fair,
needs to be
that's all.
server muted. Well, just really quick. Only the person
Yeah.
mic spamming needs to be server muted or whatever. But look, just go at. Shut the fuck up, Jesus. What is wrong with this fucking server? It's like so many people here just have like mental illnesses. Just D2, shut the fuck up. You're not in the debate. Why are you
How is
talking?
around there, buddy?
Okay, look. I want to. Yeah, I was calling for you to mute the retard spazzing out, not for you to join him in spazzing out. Do you understand the difference? Look, okay,
Fuck,
perfect. You
sorry.
done it, right? Thank you. So look, yeah, I'm glad you've done what you want, which is muting Infinity. That helps me, right? So like that just helps makes the conversation
Yeah,
a
and
lot
also
easier. We can
sucking his
understand
meat off the
everything. So
entire
now, like,
conversation.
look, now we can actually have a conversation. It can be normal, right? So look, I just wanted like they said they've answered the question, right? I don't think they have, and if they want to say they've answered the question, just go ahead and tell us. Did you answer with a yes or no to are photons made of matter? Akeno, you can answer. Infinity
Okay.
contradicted your answer to the first one, by the way. So that's kind of funny. But go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, he's yeah.
I'm
No,
giving.
don't
Okay,
2v1.
Apollo.
Just let him go.
Please. Thank you. I have two things to speak on. Okay.
Just answer though.
One, yes, I will answer, but I don't think I'm going to answer in the way that you would like or you would want.
Just a yes or a no.
Well, I don't think it's adequate for me just saying yes or no.
Well, not just
So-
saying that. Just start off with a yes or no, then elaborate for as long as you want. I'll mute myself.
Okay. Can you mute yourself then?
Just start off with a yes or no, then I'll mute myself the moment I hear either of those words. Are they made of matter?
Not necessarily no.
No, they're not made of matter.
Not necessarily no.
Okay. Photons
Because we
aren't.
are.
I'm asking you
because-
not. Hold on.
Okay.
Just be clear. I'm not asking you. Are they necessarily made of matter? I'm asking you. Are they made
No,
of
no,
matter?
no, no,
Yes or
no. Okay, that's the thing. I'm not saying by necessity or saying in every single possible world.
I'm not
we're
asking you
gonna
that.
do this. Yes, yes.
Yes or no,
I
are they
know,
made of
I'm
matter?
saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that no, not necessarily. We are unsure if they are. That is.
You're
the
unsure
whole
if they're made
point.
of matter?
Yes, that is the whole
Cool.
point.
So then you're agnostic now on if materialism is true.
That's
Gotcha.
not-
Cool concession. I love it.
That's not what we said. That's not what we said. Anyways, so I'd like to clarify. And D2, could you mute him, please? Because I don't think he's really catching on. That'd be fine. Like I really appreciate it if you could please
spit it out.
moderate. Like, thank you, Jesus, bro. Fucking finally. Okay. So, one, I'm not saying that, oh, I'm completely agnostic on it. We're saying that them affirming that, oh, these Einstein theories or these theories are going to necessarily be the case within this reality without some sort of substance. Just saying, oh, Einstein said. Okay. The thing is that we're saying that we're denying this and we're giving our definition for material and we're giving our definition for materialism, which they have yet to grasp. Okay. Now, oh, could you wait? Yeah, unmute infinity, but let me finish this part. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not saying you mentioned Einstein. I'm saying mentioning theories in general. I'm just using Einstein as some sort of, I guess, an emphasis on theories in general because he's usually what comes to mind when I think about theories. I'm just saying theories in general. Okay, is that better? Okay, back to the thing.
You done?
I'm gonna explain one more thing. Yeah, they haven't really addressed anything. You can go to the video, or if you want, we can go to conclusions. We can give a concluding statement. That's what I really want to like talk about or like go into. Like that'd be really nice if we could just conclude here and now. I mean,
Wait, before we do that,
yeah,
I got something to say. Yeah. So he said one, we contradicted our position. No, the point of contention is whether or not photons actually exist in the way in which you're saying they exist in. If they don't, you can't justify that. Yeah, if you can't justify it's just pure theory, then our point would not be contradicted at all. All I'm saying is, due to your epistemic retardated fucking limitations, they might seemingly exist. However, that is just pure theory. That's not the same thing as them actually existing. And if they do exist, that's not the same as them existing in a way in which you deem them to exist. And then especially if you're the one interpreting these scientific papers, if someone like you who is retarded interprets the scientific papers, possibly your interpretation might just be incorrect of what they're saying. So there's 4 answers to your question. My answer did not contradict him because maybe you weren't listening. Tricks can attest. I literally said
Infinity, you cut out.
I said Akeno's interpretation or answer was purely hypothetical. It was not something that was concrete.
And
retard.
also, I literally clarified by saying I don't think they understand like the semantics of it. I said not necessarily no, and then they said, "Oh, so you're agnostic on the whole thing." Like, did I ever say that, Infinity? Like, hello, Infinity?
Okay, wait. To clarify, hold on. The other retard left because he couldn't fucking mod at all.
Wait.
So
So who is this?
Wait, Infinity.
I'm just gonna name for the other guy.
Infinity, did I ever say that? What Sinthe is trying to say?
What my mom called me.
Did I ever say that photons do exist, but we're having we're agnostic on their existence? Did I ever say
No,
that?
you know.
I literally said, and I like this is why I said this can't just necessarily be answered with a yes or no. And I'm saying, okay, like by this, I'm saying not necessarily it's the case, or not necessarily this is what I'm trying to say. Not necessarily, right? I'm not necessarily saying that, oh, yeah, it's going to be this way or it's not going to be this way. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Quick question. 1, y'all are done talking right now, right?
Yes.
Y'all want them to respond.
I'm good with Tricks moderator. I don't know you. Like, no offense.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
he don't even, bro. I promise. I swear to God, I've been in both communities. I have no fucking bias, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to ask a question. I'm tired of this fucking Muni shit. I want to do just one-on-ones, and then like 5 minutes after the one-on-one, the rest can tag it in. That is to say, like Infinity and Sinthe go. 5 minutes go past. Akeno and Apollo go, and then we can just go to conclusions. This is gonna go in circles.
Slow.
Yeah.
No, we've been at this for 3 hours. This is not going to work.
Please end this.
I simply want to go to conclusions because we have talked about every single point. Some points haven't been gone over adequately. Some points have been gone over somewhat adequately, and some points were just ignored. Okay. So when you say we're going to talk for 5 minutes, it's not going to end with 5 minutes.
By the way, that isn't no disrespect.
Okay, so you guys don't want to conclude. You guys don't want to continue. My bad. Just want to conclude. Yeah. Okay, Sinthe and Apollo. I guess you guys want to conclude. Do you want to or not? I'll mute you. Hold on. My bad. There.
Hello.
So you guys want?
I mean, if they
of course you want to conclude at some point in time, but after we address the points that they just
real quick.
Definitely.
Right.
Okay.
Look, I'm like my roommate is currently downstairs. She wanted me to watch the fucking movie with her. I'm like delaying that. And it's very annoying. But I do want to I do like the idea of doing that little like the quick one woman thing. But if they're not cool with that, and all they're like willing to do is conclude, then I feel like they were kind of like it doesn't really matter what we want to do, right? Because at the end of the day, they're just gonna run.
Yeah.
So, but no, look, here's the I want to mention one thing
that he lied about.
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Yeah, so like Akeno said that he never agreed with anything that Sinthe said within the question. So Sinthe asked 2 questions, you fucking retard. The 2 questions are simply, do you agree that photons exist? Right? I don't know why they're...
Wait, Akeno, chill.
Yeah, so anyways, the first question Sinthe asked you was, do photons exist? And you said yes. Just that's the only thing you said. Then when he asked the second question, regarding whether you believe that photons are made of matter or not, you said, well, not necessarily no. And then Sinthe was trying to see if you're actually saying no, and then you said, no, I'm not saying no. I'm saying I'm unsure of whether it is made of matter or not.
Yes,
So
and the
you
way
being
that you
unsure,
guys are
hold on, I'm
trying
not done
to
speaking. I'm
do.
not done
Akeno,
speaking,
bro.
retard. Quiet down, retard. So, anyways,
That shit
you
is
saying
Yeah.
you're unsure of this is going to be indicative of agnosticism. You're agnostic on whether this thing is true or not true. If you don't want to say you're agnostic and you know this, but
Retard.
you know the answer, but you don't want to give like a
Retard.
firm answer, that's just running away, right? But I'm still
Retard.
speaking. Why? Yeah, like this guy's impulse
Retard.
control is
Akeno,
not bad.
please, bro, please
So, anyways,
stop.
it's just he's panicking. He's panicking. It's okay.
I'm
So,
definitely
yeah, to be really
panicking. I
clear on
want
this,
to.
what he said a
Okay,
while
bro.
ago,
Like,
there's a point out to the audience that he's a pathological liar, right? He lied about him not agreeing to any of the questions that are being asked. And most importantly, you've been dodging the entire conversation. So, a consequence of you saying you're unsure of whether photons are made of matter or not is going to be that there's this one object which exists in the universe which you don't know is made of matter or not, which is going to be in conflict with you knowing that materialism is true, because knowing that materialism is true is going to entail you knowing that all objects in the universe are made of matter or not, which would include photons which you've already agreed to exist. You fucking retard. So that would be a direct contradiction to that. All these guys are willing to bite the bullet and say, well, actually, I don't know whether materialism is true or not. We're just like arguing for like just for the sake of arguing. And that's fine, right? Since you guys are saying you guys are not defending physicalism or materialism. But at the end of the day, it just points out the idea that you guys don't have any actual substance or arguments for materialism being true, and you guys do not know your own position that you believe in to be true.
Okay.
Wait,
okay,
so
Mute him.
one, wait,
hold on, wait,
Mute him.
hold on.
Slowed. Mute him.
yeah,
Wait,
I'm
okay,
not.
so there's just
Mute
one
Hold
thing I
on,
want
to
to make
clarify.
clear.
Wait,
Wait,
please let me talk. Please let me talk. Please let me talk. Please let me talk.
Mute.
I don't
No
want to.
diff, no diff.
Wait,
Garbage.
Slow.
Apollo, please
No,
stop.
he
Apollo,
just
please
got
stop.
he
Apollo.
just got
Slow.
to
Are
speak. So
you?
let me
Yeah.
wait.
Shut.
Yeah, so let me
Thank
clarify
you.
something. I can know it's gonna be 2 seconds.
Yeah.
One,
Go ahead.
his
Oh
yes
god.
was purely hypothetical. I'm pretty sure I said that 20,000 times now, but obviously you can't track that. But go ahead.
That's it.
But it wasn't
Conclusions
truly
now, bro.
hypothetical because it was asked as a
Okay.
yes or no question.
Wait,
and then he
Sinthe,
said
why is
yes.
Sinthe allowed to speak during our speaking time?
Yeah, hold on.
Thank you.
Just
Why are
please
you
don't
lying?
interrupt.
Load.
Please, just
You're
don't interrupt
going
him.
to tell him not to interrupt. He's going to interrupt. This
Yeah, if
moderating
he does
shit
on mute,
does not work.
if he does on mute, if he does on mute.
Okay, just do it as a precaution then, and then just mute him one way. Unmute him.
Okay, sure, bro. Okay, sure. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, like I said, and I've actually repeated this so many times. I'm going to go with the flow of infinity's argument. I feel like you can infer from what I'm saying what I'm trying to actually say. I don't know if you have a tracking problem, some sort of fucking disorder, some sort of autism. I know Sinthe, like, just kidding. I don't mean to disrespect Sinthe. He's actually like chill. He was chill to me. That's fine. All right. Apollo, you are a genuine retard for trying to misconstrue anything I've tried to say. Can we just go to conclusions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, he's got.
Is that it?
Yes.
Yep. Unless
Yes.
Okay, fine. Wait. Just to conclude. Next, I'm gonna unmute them. They're gonna conclude. Then you guys can give a conclusion. We're done with
Okay.
this bullshit. Okay.
Don't.
I don't
Okay.
think we need. Unless they. Go ahead.
Slowed. One, if he's going to try and respond to what I'm saying that's external to his conclusion, I want you to mute him because that is external to his conclusion and he's
Okay.
going to add on. I want them to just give a decisive, direct conclusion. Okay?
And just to clarify,
Alright.
I don't need a
Yeah,
conclusion. I
okay.
don't need a closing statement. Everything is said.
Okay,
Everything's said.
so great. So less time. Okay, so I'm gonna mute you guys too, and then I'm gonna unmute them. Here you go. Mute it. Unmute it. There you go. Okay.
All right.
Conclusions, please, on anything.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. Then
You
give
go
your
first.
conclusions first.
Oh,
Do we
okay.
even? No.
I got it. Yeah, sure. So
Okay, go.
throughout the entirety of the argument, right, questions were posed to the other side, and this other side tried continuously to dodge. I see the other side, but really the one trying to dodge is Infinity. Akeno finally answers some of these questions, and it turns out that when you answer the question, it fucks the retarded position that Infinity tried to posit, which is that everything that exists is made of matter. Obviously, there are things that don't have mass and thus aren't made of matter. This is standard fucking physics. It's physics 101. Gluons exist. Photons exist. They couldn't contend with a single fucking point from the other side. It was incredibly sad. I feel kind of bad for Akeno because I don't really think it's his fault. I think it's Infinity's fault for laying out probably the most retarded position of all time, which is this weird 1850s version of materialism where you posit that everything that exists is made of matter. Well, what is matter made of, dog? More matter? What about was it's made of fucking protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? What are those made out of? Quarks. You're retarded. Infinity, you are retarded. Akeno has an argument that he could have made. You couldn't have. Go ahead, Apollo.
Wait. I think you're like being really sympathetic when you say that infinity has potential. This guy like has like okay. I'm not even going to get into that. So the conclusion is just going to simply be that not only did Infinity further embarrass himself, humiliated himself to the audience and to us specifically by positing this 1850s version of materialism, right? By saying everything is made of matter, which obviously got contradicted by the studies that synthesized then whatever explanation we've given as to why that's not the case. Right, but he was also unable to defend any of the positions that have been, or the arguments, I should say, that has been laid out as to why physicalism is obviously false. So even if we go under their concept of materialism or physicalism, which is that which is made of matter, it is obviously the case, given the conceptual analysis that we've actually established in the debate that we've had, that it is logically possible for there to be mental facts independently of physical facts. And that logical possibility in itself points out something which is true of mental facts, which is not true of physical facts. Now, to just give a recap real quickly, all I said specifically was that for any mental fact X, it is impossible for this mental fact to exist and for it to not be mental. That's a contradiction. But it is possible for there to be a physical fact which exists without it being a mental fact. That's logically possible. So that means there's something which is true of mental facts, which is not true of physical facts, and vice versa. So that means if that is the case, then there's something which distinguishes mental facts from physical facts. And that would entail them being different. Therefore, physicalism is false. You cannot claim that all the mind is just matter, because that's going to entail that you're going to have to commit yourself to the position that denying this claim is going to entail a logical contradiction or a metaphysical contradiction. It obviously does not entail either of these, right? We've established that beyond a reasonable doubt as to why there's no logical contradiction entailed from denying that the idea that matter is made of, or the mind is not made of matter. And we've established this with the P-zombie arguments. He made a whole bunch of, he made like a long shopping list of garbage, like with low IQ points, and his boyfriend Akeno did an even worse job trying to like support these points. It was like really embarrassing. Got second in embarrassment the entire time. But to wrap this up really quickly, these guys are just obviously autistic. They're horrible, low IQ, schizophrenic retards.
Okay.
Damn, I felt really, I felt really disappointed that we wasted 3 hours of our
Hold
time
on.
with
That's not
these
an
guys.
argument. Hold on. Just
Oh,
I'll
damn.
mute you now, and then
Doesn't
they
need to
can
be an
give
argument.
their.
It's a closing statement. None of these are arguments.
Okay,
You're not
bro.
tracking
Okay,
me.
bro. Okay, bro. Okay. Anyway. Holy. So, just them to respond. First goes Akeno. Akeno, do you want to give a conclusion or not?
All I gotta say is that Apollo is an inbred Jamaican fucking retarded monkey, and that we
Okay.
won this debate really low diff.
Love you.
He is Sinthe's cum slut. A lot of things. I think Sinthe's actually. He's a faggot.
This is gonna be really, really long. In conclusion, easy claps, easy claps, easy claps, easy claps. Y'all focus on beats.
Hi, bro. Well, that's it, bro. That's that shit up. That's that shit done with, bro. Y'all, of me.